Zazubaar, and welcome to the 49th Morphenominal episode of the Demons from Outer Space. Joining me, as always, is my... Dylan, what would you be in Power Rangers talk? Are you the Alpha to my Zordon, the fucking... The Blue Ranger to my Red Ranger? What are you, Dylan, in the lexicon of Power Rangers?
I don't fucking know.
Dylan McCandless, a.k.a. Super DM64.
Hi.
I don't think we've made our intentions any very subtle tonight on this episode of the Demons from Outer Space. This special episode of the Demons from Outer Space, and it's special because I fucking said it is.
Yeah, it's not really any occasion. It's just Bill had a video that he was planning to do, and then he was like, fuck it, I'll do it on DFOS.
Yeah, well, I was actually debating on whether or not to bring you onto it anyway, but I decided not to at first because I was like, well, then it's just going to be like us doing DFOS. But then I was like, well, what are we going to do on DFOS this week, so why don't we just do it there? So, for those of you listening who don't live in my head or watch or observe every single conversation Dylan and I have on Facebook...
For those of you listening who do live in his head, what's it like in there?
I'm sorry. Now we're sponsored by Warner Brothers.
Shit.
His family is watching television, and it's really loud.
They won't turn it down, man.
We'll have to press on. It's alright. It's not that...
And they're in... Like... Oh, God, they're watching Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. They're in a musical mood.
It's just like... I was fucking... You finish a sentence, and then all of a sudden the fucking Warner Brothers logo came on, and I was literally just like, are we about to, like, watch Harry Potter or some shit?
I wish they were watching Harry Potter.
But anyway, so... I was going to do a video all about Power Rangers recently because I was kind of in the mood. I don't know what exactly has prompted it, but I've kind of been on a little bit of a Power Rangers kick lately just because of, like... I don't really even know why. It just sort of happened. I think part of it was, by chance, I ended up listening to the new theme song for the upcoming season, Dino Charge, which I have no interest in watching. But I did hear the theme song, and it's fucking awesome. I don't know if you've heard it, but it is fucking kick-ass.
I most certainly have not.
It does the same thing that all of the Neo Saban seasons have done, which Neo Saban refers to the era of Power Rangers we're in now, where it's after Disney gave the rights back to Saban, and Saban has started airing the show on Nickelodeon. That includes Samurai, Super Samurai, Megaforce, and Super Megaforce. I get embarrassed anytime I say Super Megaforce. Like, I feel like I'm too old to be saying such things.
As Super Megaforce.
Super Megaforce.
He, however, does not feel that he's too old to do a video devoted to Power Rangers.
Oh, you're never too old for that, Dylan. Well, I'm here to do a video about the Power Rangers that I grew up with, not these new fucking Power Rangers.
These kids today with their Power Rangers.
With their Megaforce and their fucking... What the fuck?
And their Super Megaforce.
My leg got stuck on something, and I couldn't figure out what it was, and then I was like, oh wait, it's my computer wire. Anyway, sorry about that, kids. So yeah, we're gonna do...
Stupid name. Super Megaforce.
I know, it's so stupid. And I don't know what exactly their thought process was. Like, we're gonna call it Super Megaforce. It's like, dude...
Because they had already done...
Are they gonna do this every other season now, where it's like, we have a series, so it's like Dino Charge. The next season is Super Dino Charge.
I hope not, because you know what they really fucked up? Is that when they did Super Samurai, it was fine. Because it was still the Samurai Rangers. When they did Super Megaforce, they were pirates.
Well,
they were pirates all of a sudden.
They were fucking... And it was a really old... I mean, relatively. It was a pretty old Sentai, too. That Sentai came out in, what, 2010?
I don't fucking know.
They're really behind on adapting the Sentai.
All I know is that all of a sudden, they're pirates.
Yeah, and do they... Listen, I haven't watched any Power Rangers since... Well, I guess we'll talk about this later, but I haven't watched Power Rangers new since Mystic Force, which is when I was about 11? 11 or 12 was on... No, wait. Yeah, I guess I was about 11 when Mystic Force was on, and that's when I stopped watching.
The last season that I actually, followed was SPD.
Yeah.
When I was a wee lad.
Yeah, well, SPD was the first one that I followed all the way through, because Mystic Force did not give me a good first impression. because I got into Power Rangers around 2003.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was 9 years old. That's kind of when the normal age is. But I was born in 1994,
Well,
and of course, I knew what Power Rangers was. I mean, I grew up in the late 90s, so everybody knew who the Power Rangers were. But
because that most people in our age group who like Power Rangers got into it in the late 90s.
Yeah, I was a little bit late to the party. And I think part of that was just because I didn't really watch a lot of normal TV when I was a kid. I didn't really watch, like, traditional Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, I did, but I didn't watch them. I didn't turn on the TV every morning and just go watch a new episode of Spider-Man. I was like, I would watch, a lot of VHS tapes. I would watch a lot of reruns. I was more of a movie guy, and I actually kind of got into Saturday morning cartoons a little bit late in life in terms of relativity to, like, to other kids. Like, I mean, you always talk about Dragon Ball Z, where it's like, I don't remember when I got into it because it's always been there. And I didn't get into Dragon Ball Z until 2005? No, wait, that's not right. When did I get into Dragon Ball Z? When I was in, like, I was in 3rd grade. I actually got into Dragon Ball Z before Power Rangers, I think. Which is weird. Considering which one's more child-friendly. But anyway, this is not relevant. So yeah, I got into Power Rangers during Ninja Storm, is when I got into it. I watched Wild Force on reruns, so I got into it right when Disney bought it. So I think that's why, because they just started re-airing it, and I always had the Disney Channel on anyway, so that's kind of how I got into it, was Disney's like, oh, we have Power Rangers now, so fucking watch it.
And you were like, Power Rangers? What is this madness?
What is this Power Rangers you speak of? And then I watched it, and I was like, it was kind of shocking that I never got into it before that, because it's kind of everything I love put into one kid's show. It's superheroes, it's fucking monsters, it's giant robots, it's questionably used comedy.
It's continuity that doesn't always quite make sense.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mentioned this to you recently, I think, where I was like, it's so bizarre that so many of my favorite things have fucked up continuities. Like Godzilla, James Bond, and Doctor Who, and then Power Rangers. It's like, Jesus, the continuity is, like, all over the place. And I'm not really sure if that's part of the reason why I find those things attractive, or if it's just a fucking coincidence. I mean, usually, ultimately, I think the thing is, like, the longer some franchise goes on, the more fucked up its continuity gets. Like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, which I'm watching right now, those shows were on for, like, I don't know, like, I guess 10 years altogether, counting both shows as kind of one universe. So obviously the continuity is going to be a little stronger than, like, Power Rangers, which was on for 20 years, which has been on for 20 years, and then, like, Doctor Who 50 and James Bond and Godzilla.
I'll be the first to admit that, maybe my second biggest fandom besides from Godzilla in terms of Japanese things, Dragon Ball Z, doesn't always have the best continuity.
Yeah, but DBZ tends to be better than some of the other stuff
here's the weird thing, Bill. I recently have actually been rewatching some shit. Actually, I rewatched all of Season 3.
Of DBZ?
Yes. Which is the one where...
Season 3 meaning the Cell Saga, or...?
No, Season 3 was the season where they spent the entire season fighting Frieza.
Okay, gotcha.
The entire fucking season. The first couple episodes are them summoning Purunga, and then Frieza shows up and stays until just a few episodes before the end of the season when Goku finally blows him away. Anyway.
Beginning of Season 2 is when Goku... is when Piccolo and... not Piccolo, when Nappa and Vegeta get to Earth, right?
I think that happens, like, end of Season 1.
But then Season 2, the first half is the Vegeta-Nappa storyline, and then the first half of the Namek story, right?
They go to Namek, and then all the Ginyu shit happens.
Right.
All the Saiyan shit, I think, is in Season 1.
The Namek saga is fucking a beast of a storyline. So long.
There's so much stuff going.
If you track the beginning of the... If you consider everything that happens after the Saiyan saga that builds up to Frieza as one big season, you're talking what, like... How many episodes are we talking, Dylan?
Fuck. I think Season 3 has, like... I want to say 33 episodes, and then...
Talking, like, what, 50 episodes?
More than that. Actually, you know what? Let me just take a quick look at the DVD.
Are you watching them uncut, or are you watching the originals, like the original Funimations?
Fucking the U.S. theatrical, or not theatrical, broadcast.
Yeah, you know, when Dragon Ball Z, the series, came out week to week in theaters.
That would cost so much money, but I would go.
Oh, I would go. I mean, what if every single month there was a TV. Let's say this was a new show, not a show that you knew you liked. Like if they started saying we're going to put episodes of DBZ in theaters now, you know you're going to go. But like if you're going to keep up with a show week to week, but it's really good, like I'm talking like Breaking Bad levels of good, would you go?
Fuck it, probably.
Yeah, well, I would at least go once.
All right, if we consider episode 107, which is the episode where they're back on Earth, but they summon Purunga and send all the Nameks back home. If we consider that the end of the Namek storyline, all right, that's episode 107. Now let me just pull out the season 2 DVD and figure out when it starts exactly.
Oh, that's why I got fucked up with the numbers. Because you said that... Oh, I thought you were referring to a different time when they summoned Purunga. I thought you were, like, saying the first time they summoned him.
No, when they summon him on Earth.
Oh, okay, you didn't say on Earth, so I got confused. My bad.
Shit, when the fuck did they leave Earth? Oh my god, it looks like they leave Earth at the end of fucking... Well, do we want to consider when they leave Earth the beginning of the Namek Saga, or when they actually arrive?
I think the beginning of the Namek Saga is the episode after Vegeta leaves.
Okay, then I actually need to go back to the Season 1 DVD.
Holy shit, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Frieza's story is fucking a meaty piece of fucking television.
Where the fuck did this thing start? This is like the longest anything ever happened in DBZ, I think.
Oh, definitely.
I
mean, the fight with Frieza is what, like 40 episodes? And mind you, a lot of that is there's a lot of filler.
Alright, I'm going to consider the episode Plans for Departure as the beginning of the Namek Saga. That's when Bulma and Mr. Popo go and find the spaceship that Kami used to get to Earth, and they make plans to go to the planet Namek. That is episode 37.
Of DBZ?
Of DBZ. And as I said, the end of the whole Namek storyline is 107.
Holy shit! That's fucking crazy.
That's 90 episodes? No, not 90. 70. 70 episodes. 70 episodes.
Now, in universe, how much time do you think those 70 episodes cover? What is the longest amount? I don't know if they say it in the show.
I don't remember. I don't remember how long it takes them to get to Namek, and don't really want to do the math to figure out how long they're there.
Can't be more than a month, though, right?
The time is a weird thing in DBZ, though. I mean, it took like 10 episodes for those 5 minutes for Namek to blow up, so...
Yeah, but that's fucked up. We gotta imagine that Frieza fucked up with his calculations, because there's no way that's 5 minutes.
But they keep fucking saying that. It's like, only a few more minutes. And I'm like, how do they have time to have all these flashbacks?
And also, look at all the other shit that's going on during this. Are we supposed to assume that not all these things are happening at the same time? Like what Gohan's doing, what Chi-Chi's doing on Earth. I mean, they have time to prep another launch during Goku's final fight with Frieza.
Yeah.
On Earth. How is that 5 minutes?
Chi-Chi and the others try to leave to come get Gohan several times within that 5 minutes.
It's like, what are you doing?
How does this
But
work?
anyway, this...
Yeah, we're getting off track. The beginning of this tangent was I was talking about fucked up DBZ continuity.
Right.
But what I noticed when I was rewatching Season 3 is that sometimes they fuck up something continuity-wise, like from episode to episode.
How so?
Like, okay, here's an example. They do this thing while Goku's fighting Frieza, because obviously they have to insert padding whenever possible, where Bulma meets the frog that Captain Ginyu traded bodies with, and he befriends her, and then she, like, creates this universal translator thing so that she can talk to him. And then almost immediately after she does that, of course, he steals her body. So for a few episodes, Captain Ginyu is in Bulma's body. And then he tries.
I vaguely remember this.
And then he tries to steal Piccolo's body. Well, what happens is in one episode they're watching the fight. Ginyu in Bulma's body, Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo are standing watching Frieza and Goku fight. Meanwhile, Bulma in frog form is trying desperately to get their attention. All of a sudden, Ginyu starts laughing really loud because Frieza's winning, and this is what tips the others off that there's something wrong.
Right.
And then Bulma, Ginyu starts to do the body change attack to Piccolo, and that's the end of the episode. Cut to the next episode. Captain Ginyu in Bulma's body is now standing behind them, whereas before she was standing in front of them, and hasn't even done any of that shit yet. There's actually a much worse example, though. When they're back on Earth, all the Nameks and everybody except Goku and Frieza when they're on Earth. During one of the episodes, Vegeta and Gohan get into a fight. And again, all this is happening during those 5 minutes. Vegeta beats the shit out of Gohan, almost blows him up, and then Piccolo steps in and says, "Not today," and Vegeta flies away. Alright?
Right.
Very next episode, Vegeta's standing there at a tree and tells them how to get Gohan and Krillin back to Earth.
You mean Goku?
Yeah.
Yeah, DBZ does that.
And I'm like, are you even paying attention to what you're doing from episode to episode?
Do you think maybe that's in the adaptation, though? Maybe they cut something out of the Japanese version?
No, I don't think so, because on the DVD, the difference between the Japanese and American version is pretty much just the track.
So it's not like runtime or anything. So they really just dubbed that show straight then, I guess, right?
For the most part, it seems.
And just maybe cut out a little bit of violence here and there. Or unless you're watching the uncut Funimation version.
It might be. Because it doesn't seem like they're pulling any punches. I mean, I have...
Is all the stuff on Snake Way still there?
Yeah.
So then, yeah, that's the uncut version. Because remember, that was one of the major things they cut out of... Are
you referring to Kai?
No, in the original U.S. version.
Oh.
They cut out... I mean, the original U.S. version wasn't the whole thing. They cut out some shit. And then they went back later and redubbed it and left everything in. That's what DBZ Uncut was. I
mean, I'm watching... You know those big orange DVD box sets that they released in like 2007? Yeah, I mean, that's what I have, so... Whatever the fuck's up.
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, anyway, we promised them a Power Rangers video. And we
you know what's similar to Power Rangers? The Ginyu Force. There, segue.
Yeah, the Ginyu Force is kind of like the Power Rangers in that they pose completely unnecessarily, and then everybody just stands and stares at them, I guess, while they do it.
They're color-coded. There's a purple one, a red one, a blue one, a green one, and... whatever the fuck Raccoon is.
The only thing is the Ginyu Force does not have as badass of a theme song as the Power Rangers.
Nor do they have a giant robot.
Yeah, they're kind of lacking in that department too. So you know what? They're not exactly like, and they also don't morph exactly. I guess Ginyu kind of morphs because he like switches bodies, but that's not really morphing as like just pulling the old switcheroo. But anyway,
I intended that to be a segue, not another DBZ conversation.
So Dylan, how'd you get into Power Rangers? I know you kind of already said, but did you start off when Mighty Morphin was on? Or what? Because you were born the same year I was, so obviously that's not true.
The thing about Mighty Morphin, when Mighty Morphin was on, I was a baby.
As was I.
I caught Mighty Morphin through reruns a little bit later on.
As did I, yeah.
And saw everything up until Lost Galaxy that way. But I'm pretty sure, I think the first one that I ever watched as a child was Lost Galaxy.
So you got into it around 99.
99, 2000, whenever the fuck Lost Galaxy was.
Well, yeah, Lost Galaxy was on 98 to 99.
Okay.
And Lightspeed was on in 2000.
Okay. So, yeah. I mean, I had...
Did you watch Lost Galaxy when it was on, though?
Not all of it, but I mean, I watched it. And I had a VHS tape of the
Lights of Orion saga, which is where they introduced the Magna Defender.
Yeah, but I didn't have the entire Lights of Orion saga. I just had the part with the Magna Defender. So it's more like it was more like it was his part of the storyline.
Not a great storyline going back and rewatching it.
What, the Lights of Orion thing?
Yeah, I rewatched it a couple of years ago, and I was like, this isn't as good as I remember when I watched it in reruns when I was a kid. It's just so fucking long. It's like the fucking, it's like the goddamn, I'm trying to think of an example I can compare it to. I mean, I'm talking like, it's kind of hard to find a comparison. It's just, in terms of what ended up happening, it was too long. Like, you know what? And I might get some hate for this. I think the original Green Ranger saga is a little bit too long. 5 parts, and it's like a lot of it doesn't even really focus on the Green Ranger. It's more about like what Rita's doing and using him. You know what I mean? And part of that was the Sentai footage, but
yeah,
they kind of stretched it out in order to make sure that they had an evil Green Ranger, as long as they could use the evil Green Ranger Sentai footage.
Yeah, so I watched Lost Galaxy, not completely, but like, you know, yeah, I've always been more of a casual Power Rangers fan, but I watched it a little bit, and I had that VHS tape that I wore out. I watched that one a lot though, and then I saw the earlier stuff than that on rerun, but I didn't watch anything after that until Dino Thunder happened, and I just happened to watch Dino Thunder. I didn't plan on watching Dino Thunder. I caught an episode and kind of got hooked on it, and then stayed with it through SPD, and then I did not watch Mystic Force.
I watched a little. Well, I guess we'll get into this. I mean, I imagine, based on what I know about your list, and I guess I should get into this in a second. We're probably going to talk a lot about Dino Thunder. So basically my idea was I was going to do a video where I did very simply list my top 5 favorite seasons of Power Rangers, which is something I've always kind of thought about because, like you, I don't really want to call myself a hardcore Ranger fan because I haven't even kind of seen every season.
No.
So let's go through this briefly.
Lynn Cara is a hardcore Ranger fan.
Right, and I know about all the seasons up to what he's done through History of Power Rangers. So it's like, for instance, I didn't watch I watched very little of Time Force in the reruns that I caught when it came on Jetix on Disney. So I know about Time Force mostly through his perspective on it that he did in that video series. Yeah. So I really can't talk about that with my own opinions because I haven't seen it. But based on the clips that I've seen, and I did watch I watched the first 3 episodes later on, and I also watched the crossover with the Lightspeed Rangers, which is alright. I'm not going to be talking much about Lightspeed or Time Force, so I want to talk about this now. That episode is just really, like, plain. Like, usually the crossovers are really, when they cross over 2 different Ranger teams, it's usually treated with a lot of, like, gravitas, like, oh shit, the fucking Red Ninja Storm Ranger just punched the Red Dino Ranger in the fucking face.
How do you like that?
How do you like that, kids? Mommy, I'm scared of the man yelling at me. Don't go crying to your mama. Watch the guys in spandex beat each other up.
Don't be a pussy.
Don't be a pussy.
Fucking kids these days.
Mommy!
You called me a pussy.
You called me a... Mommy, what's a pussy? Anyway,
I'm not a cat.
Wow. Kids, you're sheltered. So, what was I saying? I was just basically saying I have not seen every season. But what I have seen...
Not even kind of.
What I have seen of Time Force, I've enjoyed, except for the crossover. And it wasn't bad. It was just so, like, yeah, we got to do this once a season where the 2 different teams cross over. So, yeah, here are the Lightspeed Rangers, and they're going to have, like, 5 lines each, and that's going to be it. Did you enjoy that, kids?
Not really.
Yeah, well, fuck you. I am Saban.
Saban don't care about your feelings.
Saban doesn't give a fuck about how you feel. All we care about is how much money your dumb parents spend on buying you Power Rangers toys. We've
got to have money.
Money.
That's why they wasted all the budget for Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, on Divatox's cleavage.
I know I wasted a lot of time on those titties. Love me, dim titties.
It was at that point in his childhood that Bill learned he was a man.
I like girls. That's when I fucking watched Turbo. Turbo Power Rangers
This movie
movie
sucks, though.
No, this movie is pretty shitty. Even as a young lad, I was like, this movie is not. It's just not all that shit.
People who complain about how little screen time Godzilla has in 2014 have not
those
seen.
people need to shut up.
Have not seen Turbo, a Power Rangers movie.
Yeah, it's like Godzilla doesn't have enough screen time. Fuck you. Go watch Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, and then tell me how great Godzilla 2014 is by comparison in regards to screen time of what you're paying to see. Nobody gives a fuck about goddamn the Wizard and fucking the Divatox and the goddamn her conehead fucking nephew and fucking.
What is even his name?
I think his name is Elgar.
I feel like I might have had a toy of him or something.
Yeah, I didn't have many Power Rangers toys. I had a toy of the Megazord, the original Megazord. I had the Omega Rangers Megazord from SPD. And then I had the green SPD Ranger in swap mode. That's what I owned of Power Rangers toys. But anyway, so let's go through this though, shall we? Let's kind of go through. But basically, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to list our top 5 favorite seasons of Power Rangers because I felt like I wanted Dylan here because I knew he was kind of an equal Power Rangers fan to myself. And also, it's more fun to talk about Power Rangers with other people than it is to sit by yourself and talk about it. It's a little bit more fun that way.
I mean, just to sit by yourself and talk about Power Rangers is just sad.
Well, that's the thing. Power Rangers is a weird thing to say, I'm a fan of Power Rangers, because it's like, a lot of it, Power Rangers being good mostly relies on, did you watch it before you turned 10? And if the answer is yes, then you're a Power Rangers fan. If the answer is no, then you're a normal person. No.
You were not brain damaged by Power Rangers.
Well, let's not pretend that just because we're fans of it, we don't acknowledge that it's not the most intellectually kind of objectively quality television for children out there.
What I'm trying to say is I don't know if I would call it particularly good.
Depending on the season. But if you go back to classic Power Rangers, especially the old Mighty Morphin days, oh boy. If you're like, if you're 20 and you're like, I want to get into Power Rangers, you got like 2 seasons that I would say you might be able to try.
Too late, man.
It's too late otherwise. You can't watch Mighty Morphin and go, I like this. It's quality storytelling, because it's not.
Turn back now.
Here's the thing, though. While I think we both fully acknowledge that Power Rangers is not exactly the best thing out there in terms of storytelling and quality, it is fucking charming as hell. Those old Mighty Morphin episodes, so fucking charming. The formula is just 90s frothy gold, and I love it. The atmosphere of it, the kind of very it's such a classical, clear-cut good guys and bad guys type of thing. It's kind of like the old movie serials in a way, where you don't watch it to think about the prospects of good and evil and why the bad guys are doing what they're doing, why the good guys are doing what you're doing. You're watching it for the spectacle of the good guys and the bad guys fighting. Why they're fighting isn't so much important as the fight itself. Now, while that's certainly a reason why it was enjoyable, I mean, Power Rangers has gotten shit ever since it came out for being a really bad influence on kids. I mean, I remember being in a psychology class last year, and my fucking psychology, not last year, 2 years ago, and my psychology professor was like, she was talking about influences on kids, and she brought up Power Rangers, like, oh, all the Power Rangers were gymnasts, and they seem to make kids think that they could be gymnasts too, and it's like, I don't think that. I think your parents needed to sit down with your kids and go,
look, kid,
you know the television box? It's not real.
Look, kid, you can't be a gymnast. You're not going You're not going to the fucking Olympics. You're gonna die a miserable life.
A miserable wife? But mommy, I'm a boy. You're gonna be a miserable wife.
You're gonna have a miserable life, and then you're gonna die. Is what I meant to say.
And you watch Power Rangers, you forget about that.
You'll never accomplish anything.
Nope. One day you're gonna be doing a podcast in your 20s, talking about stuff you watched when you were 9.
You'll give up your dreams when you knock up some chick in high school.
Yep. That's how it's gonna be, young Timmy. That's life. Anyway.
That's life.
So, I think that's certainly one of the problems with Power Rangers from a review standpoint. I think my biggest problem with it, looking back on it now, is I think that some of the stuff that they didn't do story-wise was kind of just out of, like, just financial gain, like, but I don't even know if that's the case. It just seems to me like, I don't know why they were like, we're not going to give any of the Rangers any kind of real character depth.
The more I learn about the original Sentai, the more I realize how bad of an adaptation it really is.
Well, it's kind of a weird thing to call an adaptation. It's kind of its own show, but with the Sentai footage.
Yeah, I mean...
Power Rangers is nothing like the original Jew Ranger. Nothing at all. Now that I know a lot more about it than I did when I watched Power Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are some slight similarities, a.k.a.
They have the same looking villain.
Things look similar. That's about it.
I mean, the function of the Zords and the Beasts in the original Sentai are pretty much the same, except they do more in the original Sentai.
Yeah, like, yeah, they don't just come out and turn into the robot. Like, there's in one of the early episodes of Jew Ranger, the Red Ranger uses his T-Rex thing. I'm just going to call it Zord because I don't remember the name of the thing in the...
They have a really complicated name in the original Sentai.
I don't remember what they were called. But
so we're just going to call them Zords, and the robot we're going to call it a Megazord.
And all the Sentai fans will be angry at us and write us terrifying letters. But anyway...
Oh, Dillion, you know what they were called?
What?
God Beasts.
Oh, that's much less complicated than you made it out to be.
God Beasts, I think they were called.
Anyway, he uses it to fight one of the monsters, and, like, it doesn't combine with the other ones, because they hadn't revealed the other ones yet, like, they had to find them. It, like...
Right, that's the other thing, is that they got their shit together slowly in the original Sentai.
It fought. It had an actual fight.
Right.
You never see that happen in regular Power Rangers. Like, they summon the Zord.
The Tyrannosaurus Zord sometimes did.
Okay.
They occasionally. I'm talking like there are maybe 5 episodes where the T-Rex Zord does its own thing, but none of the other Zords ever did.
And it's like, why not?
I mean, I guess it was Sentai footage limitations, I suppose.
Because the thing about that fight is that it's really fucking badass. I've come to like the Sentai a lot more than Power Rangers.
I mean, it's more...
On an objective level.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. I mean, I'm planning on watching Jew Ranger when it comes out, when Shout Factory finally releases the DVD.
I'm so stoked for that.
But I'm not gonna stop liking Power Rangers just because of that. I mean, they're two completely different things. They just happen to have the same footage from each other's shows. I mean Power Rangers from the Sentai. So they're really impossible to compare. You know what I mean?
So many weird differences, too, that I never noticed as a child. Like, you know, I was like, oh, why didn't it ever occur to me, hey, why does the Yellow Ranger have a penis?
Well, they do morph, Dylan.
I'll say.
She morphs into a guy.
That's one fucking good morpher she's got there.
Fucking swapped her gender is what it did.
Where the fuck did she get that? Jesus.
I remember I was watching Power Rangers. I was watching clips of Power Rangers Super Mega Force. Now, Dylan, I don't know how much you know about the modern shows.
Fucking nothing.
So here's what I get. I haven't watched any of Mega Force or Super Mega Force. I watched like 2 episodes of Samurai, and I was not impressed. I'm too old to get into new Power Ranger stuff. I'll watch the new movie when it comes out, but the shows, I can't do it anymore. You have to be a kid in order to get into the new shows because they're not written for guys our age.
Intelligent people.
Well, no, but they're just not written with like, they're not. I'm not gonna call them bad. I'm just gonna call them. They're just not for people over the age of 6. Though I will say, the modern stuff is definitely more poorly written than the stuff I grew up with. Maybe that's just my personal bias, but based on what I saw of, I think I watched one episode of Mega. No, I'm lying. I watched one episode of Megaforce and one episode of Super Megaforce. And Megaforce, I don't remember the episode I watched, and then Super Megaforce, I just watched the episode where it was the legendary battle, and they used about 3 seconds of that Sentai footage of all the Rangers going into a fight.
Yeah, I really.
And I'm supremely disappointed.
When it comes to the new stuff, I'm just going to wait for Linkara's History of Power Rangers to cover it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Which he's back on the ball with that, actually. He released the latest episode on Christmas, and at the end of that, he said that the next episode was coming in March, so...
yeah, because before Overdrive, it had been like a year.
Because I'm kind of curious now to see what happens in the universe, and I enjoy those videos, but I'm sure as hell not going to watch these seasons.
Yeah, my familiarity with all the Ranger seasons that I haven't seen, it comes from those videos. But anyway, so what were we talking about though? I was just making the point that so I watched the Legendary Battle or the Legendary War, whatever it was called, and I was just so fucking like, this is crap. Especially compared to the other anniversary specials. Well, you know what? Because Once a Ranger is really bad too. But Forever Red's good. Forever Red's awesome.
Damn Red Rangers and their exclusive fucking club.
Yeah, that's a little bit weird. It's like fucking Carter goes up to the god. No, Tommy's the one who initializes the whole thing. He's like, all right, Andros, so you're saying that we need to fight a bunch of, we need to fight the Machine Empire. Right, so we need to get a bunch of veteran Rangers together. All right, Red Rangers only.
What? Why? We don't want them other types around here.
I don't like them other colors, you know what I'm saying? Tommy, you've been other colors. Fuck you, Andros. Shifty-eyed alien. We find out Tommy's a fucking racist.
You were a White Ranger and a Green Ranger. You're gonna be a
Black Ranger later.
You're gonna be a Black Ranger? How do you know that?
I'm an alien. I can tell the future. That was never established in Power Rangers in Space.
Are you questioning the shitty continuity of Power Rangers?
Oh, yeah, you want to talk about bad continuity. It depends. In terms of the seasons themselves, the continuity's pretty good. But in terms of the whole franchise, it's not even worth considering.
If every season was an island unto itself, it would be fine. Unfortunately, that is not the case.
Well, the issue, the stuff from Mighty Morphin to In Space, with certain exceptions, obviously, it's not terrible continuity. Although my question when I'm watching the finale to In Space is always, where are the old Rangers? Why aren't they like, we should probably step up and help these motherfuckers? Also,
destroy all the evil in the universe. You didn't do a very good fucking job.
Yeah, where was Tricky? Like, look at all the evil later on that woke up, where it was like, where were they during when Zordon got killed?
Is this why almost every Power Rangers villain from the Disney era is like been locked in like a pot or something and gets awakened? Like,
where was fucking Emperor Grum when the Z-Wave went off?
Well, he was in the future, so.
In the future, I guess. Okay, fine. But all evil? I mean,
and I guess Mesogog technically wasn't created, but like...
Mesogog's fine. Lothor, though? Lothor should have been destroyed?
Scorpio, or whatever his fucking name was, Drakina's dad.
Yeah, Trakina herself should have been destroyed.
He was out there being an asshole, so I mean, there's just...
Yeah. He was out there being an asshole during In Space.
He was out there being an asshole 30 years before any of it, when he fucking killed the Magna Defender's son.
Right. Not 30 years ago, 3,000 years ago.
Oh, is that how long ago it was?
I think so.
I don't fucking remember.
30 years ago. You know, I was around during the 1970s dropping acid when fucking some bug came out of the sky, murdered my goddamn kid in front of me.
Why was your kid with you when you were dropping acid? You're a terrible parent, Magna Defender.
Don't worry about it. I'm the Magna Defender. Fuck you. I have a sword that turns into a gun.
I am the coolest looking thing that Power Rangers has ever produced. Go away.
Yeah, okay. I'll buy that for now. I don't know if the Magna Defender is the coolest looking thing Power Rangers has ever produced.
No, think about it. What else is there?
I am thinking about it.
You got fucking horns.
I love how that's the thing you go to. It's not the cape or the armor. It's the fucking horn.
He's got a cape. Chick.
I don't know. That original Green Ranger costume is pretty badass.
Chick dig the cape. Also,
the car. Chicks love the car.
Also, that Zord, man. Gotta love that Zord.
The Toro Zord is pretty cool.
And he fucking grows to giant size and merges with it.
I know. They did that. They did that again later in Mystic Force.
None of that cockpit shit.
Yeah, none of that bullshit. Well, my question in Power Rangers Mystic Force when I was watching it was, if they turn into the Zords, how are they in a cockpit?
Yeah, Linkara brought that up. Maybe that's just like a mental thing. Like there isn't actually a physical cockpit.
Whatever, it's fucking crap.
It's fucking stupid.
Fucking stupid shit. No, but isn't there a scene where they're out of the Megazord looking at it, and the Megazord is still? It's like, what are they looking at?
They're looking at themselves.
Also, there are points where the Megazord use the Megazord, and not all the Rangers are in it.
I don't fucking know. It's not a very good season.
No, Mystic Force is okay at best. I remember liking the finale when I saw it, but otherwise it's not very good. But anyway, let's get on with the main... Well, actually, there's one more thing. So let's kind of briefly, as quickly as we possibly can, establish each season that we've seen, so that way when we finally get into our top 5 list, we can kind of gauge the audience bearing that in mind. So Mighty Morphin, all 3 seasons, seen it.
Yep.
Zeo, seen it.
Yep.
Turbo, some of it.
I don't remember it very well, so I can't say with any certainty whether or not I've seen all of it, but I feel like I might have seen an episode or 2.
I know things about Turbo. Turbo Power Rangers movie? Sadly seen it.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, not a great movie.
I want my money back.
Saban's like, that movie's been out for almost 20 years. It's like, fuck you, Saban.
I demand that you
give me my fucking money.
I demand that you give everyone who saw that piece of shit their money back.
Yep.
Go back retroactively. Yes.
Seen it. Lost Galaxy.
Yes.
Seen some.
I'm gonna.
Lightspeed Rescue. Couple episodes.
Not even any.
Time Force, like 3 episodes.
Nope.
Wild Force, I've seen all of it.
Can't say I have.
Have you seen any of it?
Wild Force?
Yeah.
No.
Ninja Storm, seen all of it.
Nope.
Dino Thunder.
Unless you count the crossover episode in Dino Thunder.
Well, that's not in the actual Ninja Storm. Ninja Storm's I'll talk about Ninja Storm later. Dino Thunder, seen all of it.
You have?
Yeah.
So have I. Okay.
SPD, seen every episode multiple times.
Really?
Yes, SPD was the first one that I watched when it was on.
Huh.
So I've seen, and I also watched whenever there was a rerun, I was like, fucking Power Rangers! I know SPD backwards. That was my season, if you know what I mean. Dino Thunder and SPD, those are my seasons.
I see. Well, you clearly like SPD a lot more than I do. However, yes, seen it.
We'll talk about SPD later, though. Mystic Force, seen part of it.
Seen none of it. Oh, I'm done, so you can just go from here.
What's next? Jungle Fury? No, Operation Overdrive I fortunately have seen very little of. I watched the crossover. Wait, have you not seen Forever Red?
Forever Red. No, I don't think so. Well, I didn't. You know what? I think I might have actually gone back and watched that episode out of curiosity. That's the one where they're on the fucking like planet or whatever.
It's on the moon.
On the moon.
And they're able to breathe on the moon.
Oh, it's the best moon. It's the best weather. The best
moon is red.
It's time to conquer Earth.
Well, technically in the original Sentai. Anyway.
I'm not talking about the Sentai.
Sentai.
Yoshi McNickpick.
Hey man, I don't like to compare the Sentai to Power Rangers. That's our own Doopy McStonerson. What's next? Jungle Fury? I've seen none of.
No, Jungle Fury is after Overdrive. Wait.
Yeah, we just mentioned Overdrive.
You just did Overdrive.
Okay. Overdrive I've seen like none of. I saw the crossover episode. I thought it was one of the worst things Power Rangers ever done. Then I saw none of Jungle Fury. I've seen the first half of RPM, and it's really good. But I'll talk a little bit about RPM later. But RPM's good. I've seen about half the series. And then Samurai, I saw the first episode. Fucking shit. And I've seen nothing else of the Neo Saban era. None of Super Samurai. One or two of Megaforce, and then the last episode of Super Megaforce I saw. So there we go. 20 years of Power Rangers broken down in 5 minutes.
We are not nearly educated enough in the universe to be doing this list, but we will do it anyway.
Well, this is a very personal thing. So these are the 5 seasons of Power Rangers that we love, that we enjoy, that we like a lot, and that we like to go back and rewatch. And these are our 5 favorite seasons of Power Rangers. Well, I actually think that this is kind of cool because it's like every Ranger fan can have a different list then, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's kind of a capsule of when you grew up, and that's kind of really the point, is like, when did you grow up? Those are the 5 seasons of Power Rangers that you'll like. Though a little bit different than that, since I didn't grow up. I wasn't born when Mighty Morphin started. But anyway, we'll get into that as we do our list. So, Dylan, without any further ado, I think we're all set. How should we do this? Usual way, I go, then you go, or...
That's fine.
All right, so let's jump into it, shall we? So these are Dylan and I's top 5 favorite seasons of Power Rangers. And I am going to start off with my number 5, which is Power Rangers Zeo. I love Power Rangers Zeo. It's really kind of bizarre because it's the first one, obviously, they did after Mighty Morphin, the first time that they changed the powers, the first time they changed suits.
At least they had a reason for changing the powers.
Yeah, and in Zeo they did. They were like, well, we kind of lost our old powers, and they blew up our base, so we really don't have a choice.
And then when Turbo happened, it was just like, why did they switch the powers?
Hang on, guys, wait a minute. Why are we using cars now? This doesn't really... I liked my fucking Falcon thing.
There was nothing wrong with the old one. Poor green guy, he didn't think he was going to get any worse than being the Frog, and then they stuck him with the minivan.
You're talking about Adam?
That is fucking... I don't fucking remember.
I remember their names up through in space. You know what? The ones on my list, I probably remember all their names.
I know.
I'll have to check, though.
I know Tommy and Jason and Kimberly. And I think the original blue one was named Billy.
Yep. You don't remember the original Black Ranger's name?
No, I just called him the black guy.
Zach.
His name was Zach?
His name was Zach. His name was Zach.
He had a horse. That's such a not black name. Okay.
So Power Rangers Zeo, really, really fun season. It has a fairly good overarching story about, well, the overarching story is kind of the same as it was in the first place. A villain shows up on the moon, tries to take over the Earth. Power Rangers are in the way.
Is this the one? Is this where the Machine Empire comes in? Yeah,
this is the Machine Empire. King Mondo, Machina, Sprocket, Gasket, and then Tommy became the Red Ranger for the first time. Rocky was the Blue Ranger. Adam was the Green Ranger. Kat was the Pink Ranger, and then Tanya was the Yellow Ranger. And what really made Zeo so fun, to me anyway, was the subplots, more so than the overarching story. Because the Machine Empire as a villain, they look cool, but they're kind of just Rita and Zed, but a lot less fun.
This is when Rita and Zed were in the Camper of Evil, right?
Yes.
You gotta love the Camper of Evil.
Well, that's probably my favorite subplot, is Rita and Zed trying to reestablish themselves in the shadow of the Machine Empire, and all they have is this fucking RV and fucking each other. It's kind of cool. It's Power Rangers is weird because you get really attached to Lord Zed, and there are episodes where it's like, I kind of wish he would beat the Rangers.
Yeah, because
I like this guy. He almost comes off as like, so he's almost like the underdog in a way.
Well, and the other thing is he actually has, like, a personality and shit.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas the Rangers really don't.
It depends on the team. Mighty Morphin, the original team had kind of a personality.
It wasn't any personality that one would find in nature, but it was a personality.
Well, no, I mean, they were fucking stereotypes to a T. But at least they had certain defining characteristics. I mean, Jason was the Red Ranger, he was the leader, he was kind of the perfect... He was almost kind of like America's big brother in a way, you know what I mean? Where he was like, he always knew what was right, he was strong, he was cunning. Zach was kind of like the best friend, the wisecracker, the talker, the cool guy. Billy was the nerd, Trini was the other nerd, but kind of the level-headed Zen one. Kimberly was like the valley girl, the kind of like the typical girl, the one who you wanted to fuck. And then Tommy was the really popular one. So anyway, back to Zeo. Speaking of Tommy, good season for Tommy. He's it's cool to see him become the Red Ranger because I mean he was always the leader anyway. He kind of, I mean, even back when he was the Green Ranger, he kind of fought with Jason to be the leader. So I like seeing him as the Red Ranger. But honestly, my favorite parts of the season are the fucking theme song is fucking badass. It's a really good kind of mystical, epic reworking of Go-Go Power Rangers. Where it's like, it's kind of, it's almost like it almost comes off as ethereal, you know what I mean? Where it's like it's more mystical. It comes off as more larger than life, but it's still got the Go-Go Power Rangers thing in there. So I love the theme song. The villains again, they're fun, but they're not nearly as personified as Rita and Zed were, and they didn't have the charms of them. Mm-hmm. The action is fucking awesome. They use a lot more Sentai footage in Zeo, which is a good thing. Like, you go to Season 3 of Mighty Morphin, and it's like, they were shooting all their own action scenes at that point. It's kind of, in terms of the stuff in the suits, like, obviously all the Zord stuff, or most of the Zord stuff was Sentai footage. But, the fucking, the stuff on the ground was all new footage, and it kind of, they just couldn't really shoot the fights in the same way. It always looked kind of bland to me. But we'll talk about Mighty Morphin in a second. But the other thing I wanted to mention is, got one of my favorite Sixth Rangers in here. I fucking love me the Gold Ranger. The Gold Ranger might be my favorite Sixth Ranger. For a couple reasons. One, his costume is awesome. We get very few Gold Rangers throughout the whole season. I think we get, throughout the whole series, we get like 2 or 3 every now and then. But he was kind of unique. He was the first one. He had this, like, all these awesome, like, golden metal parts. He had a fucking kick-ass staff. He used a lot of lightning and, like, flashy effects, and he could move fast. And he had a giant pyramid as a Zord, which could, like, rain down fire from the heavens to destroy a monster. I love the Gold Ranger.
I love this description. He was fast, or whatever.
And more than that, Gold Ranger was kind of complicated, though, because the original Gold Ranger, Trey of Triforia, lost his powers, and had to transfer them to a human. And they bring back an old-school Power Ranger to do that shit. They bring back Jason, who is my favorite Ranger of all time. I love me some Jason. Well, that came out weird. So I love Jason, and I love him as the Gold Ranger, because they kind of did this interesting thing where there's a little bit of strong characterization in Zeo in regards to Tommy and Jason's relationship. Because if you remember back to Season 2, Jason had an episode or two where he was really blaming himself really hard for not being able to stop Tommy from losing his powers as the Green Ranger. And they bring it back in Zeo, and I was like, wow, I can't believe they're going to bring that up. That's awesome. Where Jason kind of feels like he owes Tommy a bunch, like he owes Tommy for fucking that up so long ago. But more than that, there's a great scene where, Jason was the leader in the first couple seasons. So when he comes back and all of a sudden Tommy's the Red Ranger, there's this moment where Jason's like, Tommy, you know I'm not going to try and, like, take your leadership from you, right? He's like, yeah, I know, of course. We're all equal. And he's like, I just wanted to make sure you knew. I respect you, man. And I'm not going to try and set things back to the way they were before I left. It's been too long for that.
How awesome would it have been if it turns out that he does try to take the leadership?
It would have been cooler, wouldn't it?
Like he just decides to be a dick. Just like fucking takes over the team.
Well, it's kind of interesting because there's an episode where Tommy. Do you remember how much of Zio did you watch?
Shit, this was a long time ago. I think I watched most of it.
Do you remember the episode where Tommy was kidnapped by Gasket and brainwashed to become the leader of the Machine Empire?
I think so. And
there's this great moment, I actually really like that two-parter. I rewatched it recently, and Jason gets taken into this gladiatorial dimension, and Gasket convinces Tommy that that the Power Rangers are evil. And their fight is awesome because Jason just feels like it's his fault, and it's actually pretty good for Power Rangers, and the fight's cool, and the fight's great too. So I love Power Rangers Zeo. And it's also kind of interesting because Jason and Tommy kind of switched roles in a way, where, originally Jason was trying to prevent Tommy from losing his powers, but in this season it was Tommy trying to prevent Jason from losing his powers.
Well, and you have, the guy who was the 6th Ranger now being the 6th Ranger, and you have the guy who was the leader now being... No, yeah, I fucked that up. The guy who was the 6th Ranger now being the leader, and the guy who was the leader now being the 6th Ranger.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And it's interesting to see Jason in that position, because I'm sure he's not really used to it, and he's kind of out of whack anyway because he hasn't been a Ranger for like 2 years. So I love Power Rangers Zeo, really really good stuff for Power Rangers anyway. So that's my number 5, Power Rangers Zeo. Dylan, what's your number 5?
On my number 5, I put the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Just a lot of fun. I mean, we talked about this a little bit in the process of talking about your pick. It's just a fun show. Not the characters aren't particularly well written, but the show has a lot of personality.
That it does have. I'll say this: Mighty Morphin is my number 4, so we might as well talk about it in Moss. But yeah, it's just buckets of charm.
Buckets of what?
Buckets of charm.
Oh, charm, you said. Yeah, it's got that in spades. Love, especially once Zed comes into the picture.
Yeah, that's when it gets awesome.
Like, Rita was an okay villain, but brought in Zed, and it was a lot better. And, it's interesting. It was an interesting choice for them to do that because, they didn't get Zed from any Sentai or anything.
Yeah, they completely made him up on their own, and they really benefited from that.
They had made the success of this show out of adapting Sentai footage, and then to make the decision to make that leap and to say, okay, we're going to create an original character. I don't think anybody would have seen it coming.
Well, the thing is, Power Rangers was crazy popular. Was crazy popular when it first came out. Like, Saban didn't really expect anything from it. They just expected it to be like a show that might find some success, but it wasn't really going to do anything because it wasn't an original show. It was an adaptation. And on American television, adaptations have only gone so far. You know what I mean? It's like they never really truly rise above what they're adapting. But Power Rangers, I think,
with notable exceptions such as Power Rangers. The Office is another adaptation that went pretty far.
Absolutely. The Office is a great example.
Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son's an adaptation?
Yeah, there was a British show, and I forget what it's called, but it's the same basic premise. It's a father and son running a junkyard together. Now, Sanford and Son adds the whole they black thing.
Huh. Oh, the original didn't have that?
No, it was British. They were white folks.
Really? Because that's kind of one of the defining things about... I guess that's why it really separated itself, was because it really used that angle.
Yeah. I mean,
to do some
the similarities between Sanford and Son and the original are about as thin as the similarities between Power Rangers and the Sentai. It's a very different show, but they use the same premise.
What was the original show called? Sanford and Son, or were they all different names?
No, I forget what it's called.
I didn't know that though. That's it's interesting.
I didn't find it out until recently when I was watching an episode of Sanford and Son. And at the end it said based on da-da-da, and I was like, let me go Google that. What the fuck is that? And then I found out, it was actually a British show that was...
How often in Power Rangers do they credit the original Sentai? Like, based on Zyuranger, based on Abba Ranger, based on O-Ranger?
The original British show was called Steptoe and Son.
Oh, okay. Not nearly as catchy as Sanford and Son.
No.
But I don't really recall any instance where they were like based on Zyuranger by blah blah blah.
No, I don't think they gave any...
Toei's always credited, but they never credit the specific Sentai.
I don't think they gave credit. I don't think they gave a shit. It's the boss.
Well, I think also they were like, we don't really want people to know, because there's already a level of kind of real duct tape level putting together of a television show in terms of how they produce the goddamn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they were already stepping on some major fucking TV no-nos in order to make it. So I think they wanted to kind of make it seem as rock solid as possible.
We're going to try and pass this off as our own thing.
Well, just pass it off as, like, well put together. Because if you watch Power Rangers, there's a lot of fucking really bad film mistakes. And that's part of the problem with rewatching it now. It's like, even the seasons I like, I'll go back and watch. It's like, God... Guys, you never do that. I mean, the whole premise itself, those costumes do not lend well to close-ups on a Ranger's helmet, because guess what you see in the visor, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, there's at least one time in every episode of Power Rangers that I have rewatched recently where you can see the camera crew in the visor. Again, even in seasons I like, I was watching the Titanium Ranger storyline from Lightspeed Rescue, which I like. And there's a bad one where they did a close-up on Carter's helmet, and you just literally see the camera guy with the tripod in the frame. I mean, the other problem is that the Lightspeed Rescue Rangers had enormous visors. Like, the black spots in their helmets were enormous.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that. But anyway, back to the good parts.
If I remember correctly, they don't really do that in the Sentai. I can't think of an example. Of course, I've only seen 10 episodes of one show. I'm not going to act like I'm a Sentai expert, but I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
I mean, the other thing is, here's the other major difference. The Sentai stuff was shot on film.
Yeah.
Clearly. And I don't think they shot Power Rangers on film. There's no way they would have, because it's fucking cheap as dirt. So they probably shot it on video. Meaning, like, old-school VHS stuff. Which I totally... Listen, if I'm doing that shit, that's what I'm doing. Because if I'm going to use Japanese fight footage anyway, then I'm not going to waste money shooting everything on film. Maybe I'm completely wrong in that. Maybe I'm completely wrong in that assessment. But just looking at the difference between the Zyuranger footage and... I know I keep saying the two different names wrong, but whenever I say Zyuranger, I feel a little weird.
Not racist.
I know, but it's like... But it's also, we're not pronouncing it correctly. It's not pronounced Zyuranger. It's pronounced Zyuranger.
It's not so much Jew, like you dirty Jew. It's more like you.
Jew. It's like Gojira. It's not Gojira. It's Gojira.
Gojira.
Gojira. What do you say? Zyuranger.
Gesundheit.
Serizawa, don't say things in Japanese. Never ends well for anybody.
The Jew Rangers show up to fight Godzilla. We called him a Jew Ranger. You call him what? Jew Rangers. Jew Rangers? That's incredibly rude.
Find out like Jason is Jewish.
Why would you call them that?
No. It's not spelt that way.
What? I'm the Green Ranger because I'm a Jew and that's the color of money.
Oh yeah, that's why I said Jason. Because he's the Red Ranger. Though he did become the Gold Ranger later on, so I guess my comment still doesn't work perfectly.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, that is kind of worse.
Shit, Power Rangers.
Fuck, I can't think. I fucked that up. Anyway. Fine, Billy's Jewish. You know what? I think one of the Power Rangers is Jewish. I recall an episode of Zeo where they did a holiday special, and it was, and it was like all the different Rangers were different religions. So Tanya celebrated Kwanzaa, Kat celebrated something else, Tommy celebrated Christmas, Adam celebrated something else.
Chewbacca celebrated Life Day.
Right. Oh no, Rocky celebrated Christmas. Tommy celebrated some other thing.
Isn't he supposed to be part Native American? So it's probably some Native American thing.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't even know why he would celebrate Christmas in the first place. No, he does celebrate Christmas. It's that weird flash forward where fucking he and Kat are married and they have a kid.
What happens if they run out of, like, groups of people and, like, they get to one of the Rangers? What do you celebrate? And they're just like, I don't celebrate anything. I'm atheist.
Yeah, well, that would be a different group, though. I don't think they'd put that in Power Rangers, though.
That's what I'm saying. That'd be kind of fucking awkward. If they're, like, going around talking about fucking, like, Kwanzaa and shit, and then they get to the one guy, what do you celebrate? I'm an atheist.
Even if he was, like, agnostic, it'd be like, oh, wait a minute, kids.
Everybody's like, oh.
Fucking subliminal messaging that's just a cross, just like, praise Jesus! And then they go back to the episode. Every time they mention... Oh, no. What if it was, like, because Power Rangers obviously talks a lot about, like, mystical bullshit and, like, gods and shit. So, like, whenever they do, like, oh, the gods of blah, blah, blah made this Zord.
The gods of blah, blah, blah.
I don't remember. But what if, like, every time they mention something that vaguely contradicts Christianity, they were like, praise Jesus! And then they just cut away.
The gods of praise Jesus.
So Animus got praise Jesus!
Not a terrible idea. Actually, yeah, it is. That's a fucking awful idea.
We should put that in this show. Every time I say something agnostic, I'll be like, praise Jesus!
So today we're talking about the theory of a praise Jesus.
Anyway, so do you have anything else to add about Mighty Morphin? Because it's my number 4, so...
Not really.
Well, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Now, we should point this out. We're counting all 3 seasons of Mighty Morphin in that.
Yeah.
We're not breaking it. We're not really distinguishing because that would just be too complicated.
That would just be too much.
And not really.
That would just be too much work.
Right. Exactly. But just to say, the first part of season 2 is, I think, the very best that Mighty Morphin had to offer. The old cast, Tommy's still the Green Ranger, and Lord Zed was the villain. That, I think, is the very best of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. In terms of original stuff.
I'm inclined to agree.
Like the stuff that I enjoyed the most when I was a kid, with the Thunder Zords, and, I thought that was the most enjoyable stuff. Now, it's really... The thing that really struck me about the original Mighty Morphin was just, it's just everything, I have to kind of mention it, it's kind of everything that I love in fiction. Superheroes, giant monsters, robots. But the other thing is, I'm a sucker for transformations. It's kind of one of my weird, things that I like in everything, where I'm a really big sucker for, transformations, like werewolf transformations, or Hulk transformations, or anything like that.
Super Saiyan.
Super Saiyan, exactly. Power Rangers has always stuck with... I love the morphing sequences, and Mighty Morphin didn't have the most elaborate morphing sequences. Basically, they stare at the camera, there's some lightning, and they shout their animal, or, in the case of Season 3, their color, and then power.
Genius.
Genius.
Too much pink power is dangerous, though.
What was that?
Just referencing that stupid line from that one episode where Zordon's like, too much pink energy is dangerous.
Too much pink energy is dangerous. Although, I like what they did with that later on when we get to Dino Thunder. But anyway. But let's the other thing is that everything that we're going to mention when we talk about the rest of the list is kind of stuff that Mighty Morphin started. So the concept of the Sixth Ranger, of introducing a Ranger later on.
Yeah. Even though in some seasons they only start out with 3, so it's weird to call it a Sixth Ranger.
But that's kind of the thing that people have called it in the lexicon of Power Rangers, is the Sixth Ranger. And this also set the precedence for, usually that Ranger starts off as evil.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Tommy, you've got, who else? Magnet Defender kind of started off as being antagonistic towards the Rangers.
He wasn't evil, though.
Yeah, he's more of an anti-hero, though, until he gives his powers to Mike.
he's got his own way of doing things. If you don't like it, you can get out.
I love how you went more southern with that. Why is the Magna Defender southern?
Because he has his own way of doing things. And if you don't like it, you can get out.
I like the idea of the Magna Defender being southern.
That is the southern way.
That is the southern way. But you got the Titanium Ranger, you've got fucking Zanaku and Wild Force. There's a precedence for evil Power Rangers that get reintroduced later on as good guys, and Tommy was the first, and the Green Ranger is one of the best. Badass.
It's not the same thing, but what they do with the villain in Jungle Fury is similar.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't become a ranger, but
no.
But the Spirit Rangers were evil.
But he morphs into. It's almost the same thing as being a Power Ranger. He's just not called a Ranger. He morphs into this armor. He doesn't have a morphing sequence, but it's a transformation. You know what I mean?
It seems like the whole thing is that because there's a good line in Jungle Fury, and this is all based on Linkara's video.
None of us have actually seen this.
There's a line where the mentor goes, "Have you ever heard of the Power Rangers?" And they're like, "Yeah, duh." And he goes, "Well, the Power Rangers aren't a member of the Order of the Claw." And I was like, "Thank you." That's an explanation I think every single season where there's a previously established organization that then creates Power Rangers needs to say is well, we haven't always had Power Rangers because there's no way they possibly could have. Where would they get the idea? It's like the Ninja Academy. Where did they get the idea for Power Rangers?
Mm-hmm.
They must have created that after everything else that happened, where it's look at those guys in multicolored spandex. Let's create our own version and access the morphing grid.
It's hey, there's this big energy source that we could take advantage of. Let's do it.
Yeah, and turn our guys more strong. That's my New Yorker coming out. We're going to turn our guys more strong, you know what I'm saying? We're going to turn them into Power Rangers. We're going to fucking morph, you know what I'm saying, dog?
Anyway. The fucking Brooklyn Ranger.
The Brooklyn Ranger. But the other thing about Mighty Morphin is that it was kind of revolutionary for the time. Because it inspired a lot of knockoffs. Some of them produced by Saban. Like Beetleborgs.
Oh, big bad Beetleborg.
Big bad Beetleborgs. You want to talk about a show that doesn't hold up. Whoa.
Fucking big bad Beetleborg.
Big bad Beetleborgs.
Is that the one where they had that Frankenstein and werewolf guys as comic relief?
Yeah, that was the whole series. By the way, Big Bad Beetleborgs now available on Netflix.
If you want to watch it, I don't know why.
If you want to go back and re-experience the badness,
Big Bad Beetleborgs.
Go ahead, sink your teeth in like that fucking werewolf should have done to those fucking kids. But Mighty Morphin was kind of it was the first of its kind. It was because it's kids shows were often a show like that where it's superheroes and powers and fighting. They were oftentimes animated.
Yeah.
It was one of the first live action kid shows to have a scope of action like that.
And they were like, hey, let's do it with turtles.
Oh, with TMNT. But that was after the cartoon though.
Yeah.
Power Rangers started off as a live action show. So it was kind of unique in that way because, again, everything else was animated or for adults. You had Lois and Clark, New Adventures of Superman, but that was for adults.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of unique for its time in that way because most live action TV shows, again, were considered to be for adults.
It also sort of brought tokusatsu back to American television. I think that's the first time that has happened since Ultraman aired in the U.S.
Probably big time, yeah. So yeah, it was kind of it wasn't the first time for sure bringing up that example of Ultraman, but it was certainly the most influential and the most popular. So yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, just so much fun, so entertaining, and obviously it's classic. It's an absolute classic. It's the gold standard of stuff like that. But
and kudos to the producers for coming up with an amazing premise adapted from Japanese footage that they could produce cheaply and sell a lot of toys.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a genius. If you're as a businessman, it's such a genius thing. They made so much money for so little investment.
They've got to have money.
So Dylan, that was my number 4 and your number 5. So why don't you just go into your number 4?
Number 4 for me, and this is actually one that I don't think is on your list. So, I mentioned it earlier, Lost Galaxy.
Power Rangers Lost Galaxy.
I fucking love that song.
Far, far away, deep in space, there's a power you will know. Power Rangers go, Power Rangers go, Power Rangers go.
See, he thinks if he keeps doing that, then I'm going to join in, and I'm not.
Sorry, go ahead.
I have just...
Continue with your spiel about Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Go ahead.
I just have a bucket of nostalgia for this show. It's also surprisingly dramatic, given what had come before. Like, there's the whole thing with the Magna Defender dying, or his son dying.
His kid getting killed on screen. On-screen child death.
On a children's show.
On Power Rangers, of all children's show. Like, Batman TAS didn't even do that. Remember that episode where that kid lost his leg and you thought he died?
Yeah, man.
Yes. So Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, Dylan, why do you like it?
As I was saying, it's surprisingly dramatic, especially given what Power Rangers had done before, because you have the Magna Defender's child dying on screen. Then the Magna Defender bonds with the Red Ranger's brother, who was thought to have died in the first episode. Later on in the show, the Pink Ranger fucking dies. People die in this show, Bill.
Scorpio dies and has an actually fairly emotional death with his daughter.
It's surprisingly... they tried to go a lot more serious with it in a lot of ways. It's also just, as I said, I've got buckets of nostalgia for it, and the Magna Defender is one of my favorite things ever.
Mm-hmm.
I love his design. I love his armor, his fucking cape.
Right, yeah, his cape's badass. I like his morpher too.
The man.
I like morphers with 2 parts to them.
Yeah. The man is just amazing. And then after he dies, doesn't the Red Ranger's brother get to keep the armor and shit? So
wait, hang on, Mike dies in the series?
I don't think Mike dies. I think at some point the Magna Defender died or something, didn't he?
Well, no. Well, hang on. What happens is the Magna Defender.
Well, the Magna Defender in fucking what was his name? Was it Mike?
Yeah, Mike. Well, what happens is the Magna Defender dies, but passes on his power to Mike, and then Mike becomes the Magna Defender.
Yeah, they were bonded together. The Magna Defender half dies, right? And then afterwards, Mike has the powers. Right,
and then he keeps them for the rest of the series.
Yeah. And it's fucking awesome. I had the fucking Torazord as a child. It's just, he's a badass motherfucker.
Also one of the most unique premises for a season of Power Rangers, where it's almost like Power Rangers Star Trek, where they're exploring deep space and there's a team of Rangers on the ship and they're fighting evil in the depths of space. It's almost more of Power Rangers in space than Power Rangers in space was.
Yeah, they don't always use it to their best advantage, but they do have an amazing premise going on. I love the idea of Terra Venture and just everything involving that. The worst thing about it is that the title Lost Galaxy is really kind of a misnomer.
It really has nothing to do with the Lost Galaxy that's in the show.
Lost Galaxy comes up at the end, and it's just it's not even really Lost. It's just farther away than they meant to be, and there are pirates.
There are pirates. I love that description. It's farther away, and it has pirates. And as previous seasons have shown, got pirates too.
Space pirates are bad. Space pirates.
Dragon Ball Z and Power Rangers love their space pirates.
Space pirates blew up Zordon's headquarters, so
Yep, they did.
Just saying, those damn space pirates.
Listen, here's what we're saying: we don't support space piracy.
No. All right. Damn it, Space Dave, quit your space piracy, and just quit.
Go get a real space job, and make some hard-earned space bucks.
So that you can go home to your space wife. And have
your space home.
And have space sex and make a space baby.
And then hate it with all your space emotions.
Indeed.
Wake up in the morning, in the space morning, eating your space breakfast.
Space breakfast in your space bed.
Listen, everything is space.
This joke is wearing thin.
Even if the thing itself does not change by the virtue of being in space, it is still in space.
In space.
Space.
See, Jews in space.
So, Lost Galaxy is a good season.
Yep.
It's in my honorable mentions later on, which I'll talk about before we get into our number ones, or our number one, since I know that they're both the same. So yeah, I love Lost Galaxy. I haven't seen all of it though, so I can't give it the same kind of love that you can. But it's a good season. The villain's great. Trakina is pretty well acted. Again, Scorpio's death scene is really kind of powerful. In that he truly did love his daughter. He was just kind of an asshole.
They also introduced what's his name, Villamax, who's a
yeah, his name's Villain.
Yeah, he's a good villain. The honorable villain. And then they also had they brought back what's her fucking name from In Space.
Oh yeah, Corone.
Yeah, they bring her back and she winds up being the new Pink Ranger after the first one. Fucking dies.
Yeah, she gets blown to smithereens by a broken morpher. Oh, that's the other cool thing about Lost Galaxy. That team-up episode is awesome.
Yeah.
With the Space Rangers.
Oh,
probably one of the best team-ups.
Oh, I also love the idea of getting their powers from swords.
Yeah, that is
lodged in rocks. I'm a sucker for magical swords.
I also love the morphing sequence. I mean, it's really simple, but I love that whole thing where they like put their hands in front of their face and there's lightning and fire, and then the visors close.
Mm-hmm.
I like it whenever the helmets go on and then the visors close. It just makes it seem more technical and kind of specific. Like that's why I like the Ninja Storm morphing sequence.
Instead of it all just like popping on at once.
Yeah, that's one of my few problems with the Dino Thunder morph is that like everything just kind of it just flies on. It doesn't. There's no like technical stuff to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Lost Galaxy is a great season. Do you mind the whole Galactabeasts being living things thing?
No, actually, I kind of like it. I think it's very unique.
I think it's kind of overly complex, though.
Overly complex? How so?
Because it's just like, all right, so we got these animals that are gigantic, monstrous things, and then they have to turn into robots to become the Megazord.
Yeah.
It seems a little bit overly complicated to me. And the whole reason was, I think we would be remiss not to mention this, the original Sentai had nothing to do with space.
Yeah, no, it was actually nature-themed.
Right, exactly. So it had nothing to do with space.
Absolutely nothing.
So then, but they were like, Power Rangers in space was really popular, so we're going to stay in space, so we need to make it space. And they actually did a fairly good job, but the Galactabeasts were one of the things that suffered for that, because it's like, why the fuck are they fucking animals that turn into robots? What does that accomplish?
I thought it was very unique, though. Yeah, it's weird. You know, they actually took a Sentai that had nothing to do with space and managed to make it more spacey than the adaptation of a space Sentai that they had done before.
Well, Power Rangers in space, Mega Ranger really had nothing to do with space either, though.
Oh, really?
No, it was about technology. They never did. I don't think the Sentai ever did our true spacey thing.
I guess the Japanese just aren't as keen on space.
Yeah, that's... Even though the beginning of Jew Ranger is fucking in space.
But we love space.
Space so much.
Fucking space, man.
Fuck it. I love me some space. Anyway, my space love for space.
So much space.
So anyway, that was your number 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I love me some Lost Galaxy too. Leo's one of my favorite Red Rangers. I like I like everything about it. It's a good season. So that's in my honorable mentions.
Maybe some nostalgia talking, but I don't really care. I don't really mind the Charlie Brown stripes.
Yeah, I like the costumes. I don't have any problem with them. I quite like the costumes, in fact.
Yeah.
The morphers are kind of boring, though. I mean, I like that they look like the Quasar Sabers.
I mean, at least they're not sunglasses.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid. I don't get that at all. Why sunglasses?
I mean,
Why you Judas Power Rangers Jungle Fury? Why fucking sunglasses? Fucking bullshit. I never minded the cell phone morphers. Why goddamn sunglasses?
Your mighty morphin sunglasses.
What if the lenses come out? What if that happens?
Go sunglasses.
Yep. See, I did get you to sing, Dylan. I got you to fucking sing.
Not when you wanted me to, though.
True. So my number 3 is Power Rangers SPD. The show that was on when I got into Power Rangers.
Yeah, we were talking about this before, but from this point on, our lists are the same, so we might as well just start talking about them.
Oh, okay. So number 3, SPD. For you as well?
Yes.
So, Dylan, SPD is a great season, and it's weird because it has some of the least continuity in Power Rangers history, but
I think that actually helps it out a little because it doesn't have to bother like trying to write itself into the continuity of everything else that goes on. It just sort of gets to do its own thing.
Yeah, and it kind of does that by going into the future. So that was actually kind of a smart move that they did.
I'm not sure if they're farther in the future than Time Force or not as far in the future.
Oh, they're way before Time Force. Really? I always thought the SPD was the very early beginning of Time Force. I think SPD takes place in 2025.
I just love how, though in SPD it's like, oh, we totally accept aliens being on our planet, and then Time Force is like, fuck these mutants.
Right? But Time Force, I think, takes place in the year 3000. Where it's like, we still have jumpsuits in the year 3000. I think we would have come up with something better by then.
Mankind has come so far.
Also, let's transport our villains in trucks.
Yeah.
Can't just teleport them? We know we can turn them into action figures, but we can't teleport them.
Maybe we should talk about what we like in SPD instead.
Oh, no, I'm talking about Time Force.
Oh, okay.
No, SPD's... I'm complaining about Time Force. I'm just making fun of it. SPD is fucking awesome. It holds up pretty well.
I love the idea of having... Well, I like the Power Rangers as an institution. That's an interesting idea. Like...
Yeah, I like that too.
Institutionalized Power Rangers. Like, there are multiple squads of Power Rangers. And I love the idea of having one of those squads turn evil and then having your main characters having to go up against these more experienced Rangers. It's just brilliant. It's like you take the whole evil Ranger idea from, like, the original series and then say, hey, what if we had a whole team of them?
And what if it wasn't mind control?
What if they just turned evil? Because...
What if they were just like, we're kind of bullshit. Let's just fucking... Listen, we could get so much pussy if we went evil.
They're just like, well, you know, you gotta think that it's...
But wait a minute, our Red Ranger's a girl. It's like, but she can get so much dick.
What if she's lesbian, Bill?
And she can get so much pussy.
I mean, you know, you gotta think that the Power Rangers have been fighting evil for thousands of years. Not even the Z-Wave did it. At some point, one of the Rangers is just gonna be like, fuck this shit. I'm going over to the winning team.
Yeah. We never seem to make any headway whatsoever in terms of fighting evil. So let's just be. Listen, I'm just gonna smoke weed all day and kill people. That's it.
Let's just be evil. Anybody ever thought of that? Let's just be evil.
Well, what if we just like not? What if it's like there's some because most seasons of Power Rangers it's like all right, we'll kill the Rangers first and then we'll worry about taking over the world later. They seem so preoccupied with killing the Rangers. It's like, well, isn't there more to it than that? What I like about SPD is that SPD thinks about that and goes, well, what if they're doing both at the same time?
Yeah. By
having Grom multitasking. He's trying to destroy the Rangers, but he's also building a massive weapon to take over the Earth at the same time. And that's happening throughout the season. SPD has a really good sense of continuity with itself, and that's one of the other things I really like about it.
But if I'm remembering this correctly, doesn't Grum turn out not even to be the actual big villain of the season?
Yeah, he's not the main villain. Well, he is the main villain, but he's got there's this creature living inside his ship called Omni, which is this big brain with tentacles. And at the end of the series, we kind of have suspicions that Grom is either crazy or he's got somebody else he's working for early on in the season when he's talking to himself. And I always just assumed when I was a kid that he was fucking nuts. And then they reveal all the shit about Omni.
And you were like, whoa.
And I was like, holy shit, didn't see that coming.
Layers and shit.
I was easily excited as a child. I ran around my house freaking out, telling my parents this, and they had no idea what I was talking about.
You also cussed a lot as a child.
I did. No, that's true. I did.
Oh, shit.
fucking nuggets, man.
He ain't working for somebody.
He ain't by himself, Ma. Why'd you go Southern? Because one day I'm gonna be friends with a Southern dude.
I can just feel it.
I just like the way it feels.
I was friends with Southerners long before anybody paid me to be friends with one.
I just like the way it feels.
I just like the way it feels.
What does that even fucking mean? So, I love me some SPD. The other thing that's great about this season is the characters and the acting. Acting's pretty good all around, which is rare for Power Rangers.
Yeah, I mean...
And difficult in the Disney seasons because they weren't shooting it in America and everybody had to hide their New Zealand accents. And I think SPD probably does the best job of it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't rewatched it as much as you have, and it's been a while, but from what I can remember, I seem to have felt the same way about it. Because I didn't know at the time of watching it that the Disney seasons were being filmed in New Zealand.
I think it's still being filmed in New Zealand.
I didn't fucking, do research on TV shows I was watching. I wasn't that guy. Now I'm that guy.
Right. I always assumed something was up with their voices, because, especially in Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder, there are moments where the lead Rangers are like, there are some words that you just can't fake an American accent for. You just gotta have it. For instance, and this is a problem when your show is called Power Rangers. Power Rangers. Not Power Rangers.
I'm a Power Ranger. No, you're a Power Ranger. Yeah, I'm a Power Ranger.
A Power Ranger. No, you're a Power Ranger. Yeah, Power Ranger. A Power... Because there are points where, okay, so this in the Ninja Storm Dino Thunder team-up, there's this moment where, goddamn, Dylan, what's his name?
Which one?
The Red Ranger.
Oh, which Red Ranger?
The Dino Thunder Red Ranger.
Oh, isn't his name Connor?
Yeah, his name's Connor. He's basically pumping up his team for the fight with the Ninja Storm Rangers, and he goes, if they use special powers, we use special powers. And I'm like, what does that fucking mean?
Fucking Christopher.
And it's like, are you supposed to be in California, not fucking Australia?
Fucking like Christopher Walken. Yo, the powers.
Power Rangers morphing into colored costumes, fighting guys, dinosaur heads. Oh,
This has been Christopher Walken's beat poetry about Power Rangers.
This is Christopher Walken's interpretation of Power Rangers. How head in the tube is like, yo, robot, give me kids with spunk and power.
I'd demand Christopher Walken to play Zordon in the movie.
Oh, Jason, don't blame yourself for Tommy losing his powers. You're the Red Ranger. Your leadership skills are, they're unmatched. They're like fine Russian wine. They get better with time. You know what I'm saying, Jason? Yeah, I think so.
If you break my tube, you will kill all the evil in the universe, except for this guy and this guy and these people.
I should have revealed this long ago. You could just fucking kill me, and all evil will die. Probably should have done that a while ago. You know, but I like life.
I want to live, Clarence.
I want Power Rangers. It's a Wonderful Life with Christopher Walken
and Zordon.
Jason's. I don't know why Jason is Clarence.
Fucking shitty ass special effects that they used to use for Zordon. Not like first movie Zordon. Fucking show Zordon.
Shows where he looks like a fucking diarrhea stain.
Where it looks like you're trying to have a conversation with fucking like Dr. Evil, except like you have a really bad connection.
It's true. Whoa, Dylan, what were we talking about? SPD is great. Again, I love the characters. Jack is one of my favorite Red Rangers. I don't know if he's my favorite though. Jason's probably still going to take that, but I love Jack. He's one of my favorite Red Rangers. One of the most interesting Red Rangers because he starts off as a criminal on the streets, and Kruger's just like, yo, criminal. Yeah, Christopher Walken is Doggy Kruger. How Jack, take this morpher, go out, make Sky pissed at you because he wants to be the Red Ranger, but just to be a dick, I'm not gonna make him the Red Ranger.
The fucking guy's like, I can't be a Red Ranger, I'm a criminal, and the fucking... He's like, yo, I'm
a fucking academy, how can I lead a squad? Well, never thought that far ahead. I'm a dog.
Listen, I'm a dog, and I run this shit, so if I can do that...
Yeah! That's his fucking reasoning for why Jack can be the Red Ranger. He's like, listen, I'm a fucking dog wearing clothes. If I can do that, you can be a Red Ranger.
I'm this fucking blue, like, Beerus-looking motherfucker. You can do this.
Listen, dude. Level with me here. If I can have a sexy cat girl as my tech girl, and fucking a bat wearing a tie as one of our villains, you can put on some red spandex and bark orders at people.
I'm gonna be a ranger later. A dog ranger.
Listen, look at this snout. You'd think that this wouldn't be able to fit in a helmet. Well, you'd be wrong.
There's no logic. This is Power Rangers. Notice that you never see him taking off his helmet.
No, never. They'd be like, well, I'll tell you.
How does it work?
Well, if they're being realistic, he would have to sound like this. What did you say?
It's fucking Time Lord technology. His helmet's bigger on the inside.
I guess so. Right? I guess his helmet would have to be bigger on the inside. I was watching Angel last night.
I'm a time dog.
The Time Dog. That's an epic name. Time Dogs. Power Rangers. Time Dogs.
To the rescue.
Time Dog Rescue. Does that mean that the dogs are rescued or the dogs are doing the rescuing?
Are they rescuing? Are they rescuing time, or do they travel through time and rescue people?
Dog time rescuers.
It makes about as much sense as Big Bad Beetleborgs.
I guess so. Like, we're going to give kids superpowers. What are they going to be based on? Well, could be dinosaurs, could be sharks. No, let's just make them beetles.
Insects. The most nefarious of all God's creatures.
Imagine if remember that Jay Leno looking motherfucker who gave them their powers?
Yeah, what a great replacement for Zordon he was.
Yeah.
The other show's got like a wizard in a tube. We've got this.
They're like, we're gonna have Jay Leno. His chin will be enough to fucking to save the day.
You kids want powers? I need an adult.
Hey, you kids want superpowers? I can't do a Jay Leno impression. I just tried and it was embarrassing.
Come to my band, I'll give you some superpowers.
I'm gonna retire and you're gonna have a different leader. Your new leader is gonna be what's his name? Fucking James. What's his name? Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon is the new leader of the Beetleborgs.
It could be worse. You could have a dog.
Yeah, if dogs can wear helmets, then Jimmy Kimmel can lead the Beetleborgs.
Big bad beetle dog.
So anyway, SPD.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Great season is I think our point.
That's what we're trying to get at in our typical DFOS not talking about what we should be talking about way.
Though, despite one of my favorite seasons, one of my least favorite, although he's not really the Sixth Ranger, I was meaning the Omega Ranger, who's kind of the white SPD. I don't like him at all.
Is that the one that, like...
He never demorphs, and it bothers me.
He's like a ball of light, right?
Yeah, and then he turned into a Power Ranger. It's like, wait a minute, hang on. His whole thing was he traveled from the future because he was like, yo, shit's fucked up. And they're like, whoa, bro.
I wonder how far from the future he came. I wonder how close to Time Force he was.
Yeah, right?
I thought they just invented time travel in Time Force, right? Like, wasn't that a new thing? And then, like, he just fucking does it.
I guess so. Well, it seems to me, based on SPD, that time travel isn't really mastered yet. Oh, you know what? But he couldn't get back to the future, so they hadn't mastered it yet. By Time Force, they're like...
Sorry.
By Time Force, they're like, we got this shit nailed down. And then they can't get back to the future.
Omega Ranger, we've got to get back to the future. Fucking Doc Brown is the mentor of the season.
Dude, oh my god, that'd be awesome. Power Rangers, McFly fart.
The villain's fucking that guy. Hey, McFly.
He's fucking Biff.
Hey, it's Biff's Western ancestor. Hey, McFly.
Hey, McFly. Your fly's open. That's not funny.
Love that moment where he comes in there wearing those ridiculous clothes, and the cowboys are like, what is he wearing? And the one guy's like, he looks like he got them clothes off in a dead Chinese.
Oh, God.
Like good old-fashioned 1800s racism.
It's like that Jackie Chan movie with fucking not Owen Wilson. Yeah, no, it was Owen Wilson. Remember that? I don't remember what it was called. He was a cowboy and Jackie Chan was a Asian dude.
Oh. His most popular role.
I don't remember what his character was. I think he was like
quite convincing at it.
Or no, he couldn't have been a samurai because he was Chinese. So what was he? He was some warrior dude.
He was a Chinese guy. I don't fucking know.
He was a Chinese guy.
What's the Chinese equivalent of a samurai? Do they have one?
Probably, but I don't know what they're called.
They're called fucking Chinese. I don't know.
They're called Chinese fighters.
They're called railroad workers. No.
Oh, whoa! All right, let's take this back a second now. But on the other hand, back to SPD, I do love. Aside from not loving the White Ranger, I do love the Omega Ranger. I do love Shadow Ranger. He's badass. Doggy Kruger is one of my favorite mentors in Power Rangers history. Again, well acted, despite the fact that he's a big puppet.
The fact that he's a dog. He's a fucking dog.
Dylan, you can't get over this dog thing, can you?
I remember.
You saying that dogs can't lead the Power Rangers?
Yes. As a child, when I was watching SPD for the first time, I was like, this is really good, but I could never get over the fact that their leader was a dog. I'm like, we went from, like, wizards in tubes to, like, past Rangers, and now we have a dog?
Now we have a dog. Their final weapon was kind of weird, too, because they had this robot dog, and the Red Ranger would, like, throw a bone up in the air, and then it would bite it, and then it would become a cannon.
I remember this.
I don't know, it was like, was the bone required to become the cannon?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
The other thing is that in the crossover with the Dino Thunder Rangers, there's a moment where, well, at the end they use the Z-Rex blaster and the dog cannon. Oh, the canine cannon is what it's called.
Oh, clever.
And, yeah, right? What? Oh, Jesus. And they throw the bone up in the air, and the dog's there. I'm like, wait a minute. They're in the past, and I'm pretty sure they didn't bring the dog with them. So how the fuck did they get the cannon?
Magic.
SPD didn't use magic, bro. It was all technology. All realistic technology.
Yeah.
Where they turn people into cards.
Realistic.
Realistic, real-world, gritty, future technology where they turned their villains into fucking cards.
I never go anywhere without my turn a villain into a card machine.
I love the SPD morphers, though.
Is that supposed to be a callback to what happened to the Psycho Rangers?
It might have been in the original Sentai, though, so I don't know.
Or I guess we can just assume that the ability to turn villains into cards as a way of storing them is like the future version of the technology that was used to turn the Psycho Rangers into, digitize them.
Yeah, but that technology wasn't Earth-based. It was alien technology. Although, I guess, technically now you can't distinguish that in SPD because there's alien and human technology.
Precisely. Plus, if Terra Venture was built from fitted, or not retrofitted, what's the word, where you take...
What was it called? Reverse engineering.
Yeah, they created Terra Venture from reverse engineering the alien technology that was left over on Earth from the end of In Space. So you would think there would be more alien technology going around on Earth after that fact, but oh well. And
you gotta wait until 2025 for that shit to start happening.
Makes a lot of fucking sense. What, they sent all the alien technology away on the ship? Like, was it all on? That's a stupid way of doing things.
Well, Dylan, here's the thing.
The chances of Terra Venture being successful in its mission were not good, and yeah, it turns out they weren't.
Yeah, no, they lost a lot of shit.
They fucking crashed on another planet.
Yep, it's kind of a stupid idea in retrospective.
What were they even looking for? I don't remember.
They were looking for another planet.
Why?
Well, for the same reason we're looking for another planet, because you never know.
Yeah, we're not.
We might have the world of Interstellar where it's like we're kind of fucked, so we need to get off this planet.
But we're not trying to move to one before we found one.
That's true.
This is in the 90s. It seems like kind of a leap.
Dylan, it's Power Rangers. Well, Dylan, this is the same series where
they're like, hey,
all
we're going
that
to go out
shit
there and find another planet. Why is the Earth dying? No, not yet. Not for a while. Then why are we looking for another planet? It'll be cool.
Dude, because we need a new premise for a new season. What does that mean? Never mind.
Are you saying we're all in a TV show? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not even a traditional. We're all in an adaptation of a Japanese TV show.
See, there's something called a Sentai. Oh god, this is getting trippy.
Whoa. What was I about to say? But Dylan, we gotta also bear in mind, Power Rangers are real. Remember that shit? It's like, no shit, dude. Yeah.
There was a big battle on Earth.
You don't remember the fucking Lightspeed Rangers, like, morphing in the middle of a fucking road?
I mean, the finale of In Space should have been a major news event.
Been like, guys, the world was almost conquered.
Did their timeline get affected?
Guys!
Did their timeline somehow get affected by the cracks from Doctor Who?
Maybe it was the time holes in Time Force.
Oh. You got...
Dylan, don't even.
You got something there.
Don't fucking even.
Don't even what?
Don't even try.
Don't even try what?
It's all bullshit. Power Rangers isn't real.
This is a great advertisement for this show that we're honoring in this fucking episode. It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. It's fun bullshit, but it's bullshit.
Power Rangers. It's all bullshit.
Listen, Saban, if you want to use my quote in a future season, go right ahead.
Do you need something to sit your kids down in front of the TV and make them shut the fuck up for a while? How about Power Rangers? It's all bullshit.
It's a pretty good advertisement for parents. So what else do I have to say? I also like this is one of my favorite sidecasts in the history of Power Rangers.
Are we still on SPD?
Yeah. So you've got Piggy, who is awesome. I love Piggy. I know not everybody does, but I love me some Piggy. He's funny. He's kind of like he.
Were you excited when you? Oh wait, you didn't watch all of it, and I mean neither did I. But I saw it in the fucking History of Power Rangers video. Were you excited when he showed up in Mystic Force?
Oh yeah, I was so thrilled. I did. By the way, I did see that episode when it premiered, and I was actually really excited.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that is Piggy.
Piggy.
Piggy. He didn't respond because he doesn't exist.
Before there was Piggy. I mean, before there was Biggie, there was Piggy.
Piggy and Botch.
Oh. Piggy.
Piggy. You got Cat, the cat person.
Oh yeah.
Boom was okay. I like
bringing a whole new meaning to fuck her right in the pussy.
Yep, indeed. And I would have. She was attractive.
She turned into a ranger too.
Yeah. Here's the thing: almost every main character of the show at one point becomes a Power Ranger.
One of them becomes an Orange Ranger in like a dream sequence, don't they?
Yeah, it's Boom. He becomes the Orange Ranger, and it's basically just one of the helmets from In Space painted orange.
Genius.
Well, we were talking about the comparisons between SPD and Power Rangers in Space earlier, and there's a lot of crossover. The A Squad, the Evil Rangers' helmets are the helmets from In Space.
Oh.
And aside from that, their outfits aren't that impressive. They basically just look like soldiers, but with Power Ranger helmets. The B Squad Rangers actually have better looking costumes.
I actually kind of like, though, that they were like the more militarized versions of the Power Rangers, because, like I said, that was the interesting idea to me, is that you had this future where the Power Rangers had become like an institution, and that was an interesting idea.
It almost seems to me like the B Squad Rangers are more of the PR Rangers, and like the street level, like they're the cops. But then the A Squad, like when shit gets real, we go.
Yeah, they're the SWAT team, and that's exactly the feeling that I get from their costumes, and why I actually don't mind the way they look. They look like a fucking SWAT team. Like, you know, they were lost in space. There's another TV show. They were lost in space for a long portion of the series, so it feels like, you know, the B Squad Rangers stay behind on Earth and, like, you know, fight aliens and shit, and then the A Squad, they like go out into space and like fuck shit up.
Literally. And I mean, when the B Squad Rangers get their SWAT powers, they kind of look like the A Squad Rangers. Yeah. They get shotguns, they get fucking armor, they get walkie-talkies, they get fucking a Megazord that turns into a gun. They get fucking Megatron.
I think it would be somewhat more interesting if the A Squad Rangers wound up being the big villain of the season. Like, it turns out that Grum's fucking taking orders from them.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. You know what? That would be kind of interesting. Speaking of interesting ways to change a season, there's something I want to bring up when we get to our number ones, but make sure you remind me because I might forget. So when we get to our number ones, remind me of something about the villain that could have been changed to make it more interesting. All right?
Okay.
So just remind me.
I'm gonna be interested to hear that because I love that fucking villain.
Yeah. Well, hang on. I'll get into that. I'm just looking at my notes, making sure I didn't miss anything about SPD.
The other interesting thing about in SPD having the Rangers be an institution is that they sort of take those like established like tropes of Power Rangers and turn them into like the rules of the organization. Like the Red Ranger is the leader. That is
right.
The way
that was cool.
And so on and so forth. I mean, they have the rankings on their fucking uniforms.
True.
Like, you are more important than yourself. Here is your big number to distinguish that.
Mm-hmm. I also forgot to mention, like, that's one of the best parts of the season is the rivalry between Jack and Sky, the Red and Blue Rangers, where Sky's dad was... Okay, this is complicated. So, when we see flashbacks to Sky's father, who was an SPD Red Ranger, what Red Ranger costume is he wearing? Time Force.
Makes so much fucking... No, it doesn't.
It actually kind of does. Wouldn't it make sense if SPD started because of the Silver Guardians from Time Force?
Didn't Linkara throw out that theory in his episode of History of Power Rangers?
Well, I thought of that long before I ever saw that.
He's like, I thought of that way before Linkara.
Yeah, fuck you, Linkara. I did. I thought it would make sense that Wes was the Red Time Force Ranger, and then out of the Silver Guardians came SPD. And maybe he's Sky's dad. I mean, that obviously isn't the case, though, because Sky's last name is not whatever Wes's name was.
I mean, it makes sense. I hope in the future, since SPD has become this, like, big institution, I hope they found a way to keep any old Joe from fucking hacking into the morphing grid and making his own morphers. Because that seems to be a thing in the, like, right now, where it's like any old guy who wants to make a team of Power Rangers just accesses the morphing grid somehow.
It's like, there's a fucking guy who runs a pizza place, gets a bunch of sunglasses, and he's like, you guys are Power Rangers now. It's like, wait a minute, hang on.
It's like, can anybody just get into it? Yeah.
It's like buying morphers is like buying crack. It's like anybody can get it.
Yo, I need that morpher, man. I need those powers, man. You got the dough, I got the stuff.
Wouldn't that be kind of interesting if you had a ranger who got addicted to morphing?
That would be interesting.
They would never do it because it's a kid's show, but it would be kind of an interesting metaphor for drug use.
Well, they could have done it as like, they could have done it. Like, imagine if they'd done it back in the 90s in the Mighty Morphin days, but they would have done it in like a really cheesy PSA way of like, hey kids, drugs are bad.
Well, no, they would have done it in a way of like, it's not actually them becoming addicted to morphing. It's Zed like casting a spell and making them feel that way. Because that's always how their character shifted. It was never of their own will. It was always they got fucking a spell cast on them and they would change.
Because nobody can just, be complicated in their own right. That would...
That's impossible. People are simple and two-dimensional.
Indeed.
We're saying we're Power Rangers fans, right?
It's not always that well written.
Yeah, it's true. But that's why it's fun to talk about with other people, because it's just we're poking fun at it very lovingly.
It's fucking stupid.
But it is fucking dumb. No, I'm kidding.
Fuck.
Do you like Emperor Grum?
Do I like Emperor Grum? Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a letdown after the previous season's villain.
Yeah, we'll get to
I was never all that blown away by Emperor Grum, but he's an alright. I like his design.
He comes off as a little bit like Zed, and that's why I like him. He's a little bit like Zed. He's got a good personality. He's threatening as all hell in terms of how he looks. And he's got a motorcycle. That's bad.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a badass design. I like his design. He's a cool character. I was never over the moon about him, but I think he's a decent villain. And it was a nice twist, since he's not as interesting as some of the other villains. It was a nice twist that he wound up not really being the villain, or at least not the main villain.
It kind of makes sense that he isn't as brilliant of a strategist as he should have been, because he's not the brains of the operation. That's somebody else.
Yeah, they're the dumb ones.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the ones that done fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Grum's fault. Grum's my fucking boy.
You go, Grum.
I would chill out with Grum.
Chilling with Grum.
Gaming
with Grum.
That's a fucking sitcom, Chilling with Grum. After he was defeated, he went to Earth, and is he killed at the end of SPD?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
We've hung with pirates and hobbits. Let's get Grum in here.
Let's get some Trubians in here. Let's hang out with some Trubians.
They seem like cool people.
They seem like They seem like good people.
I too have thought of destroying the Earth, though. We can talk
several times.
We can talk about that. Swap notes. How do you kill the Power Rangers? If I know that, do you think I'd be here?
Listening to this?
I love the part in the Nostalgia Critic review where she's like, "Do you really want the middle image of me and Zed doing it?"
I do. No.
That's what we call porn.
I'm sure it exists.
I'm gonna find it.
Oh, Dylan,
I'm gonna send it to you.
No.
And it will haunt your wild stream.
No. What else do we have to say about SPD? I think that's it.
Is there any SPD porn?
Probably. So that's about it for SPD. So let's move on to, well, Dylan, is there anything you want to say that, because I feel like I kind of overtook you in that way because we have the same numbering.
No, I said a lot. And what I didn't say, you said, so.
Alright. So let's move on then to our number twos. Dylan, what is our number two?
Power Rangers in Space.
Space! Dylan, why is Power Rangers in Space our number two?
Because it's got a huge motherfucking epic story that really would have made a great finale to the entire show, but whatever.
If not for some bugs in space and a giant space colony that shouldn't have existed.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for all that bullshit. No, it's got that big epic story. There's all this great continuity and shit going on. It's
a reference to continuity that is not very good, but they use it in a good way. For instance, what's everybody's least favorite thing about Power Rangers Turbo? Hey guys, I'm the new Blue Ranger. It's like, wait, what?
Oh my god.
And in Power Rangers in Space, they actually do some cool shit with that kid. And they bring him back, and he's like, I missed you, motherfuckers. And they're like, we missed you too, bro.
This was a mistake. Why did I go looking for Power Rangers porn? Why is the Megazord fucking Godzilla up the ass? Why is that a thing that's happening?
Oh God.
It's pretty shittily drawn, too, which makes it hilarious.
Dylan, it's like, I'm gonna go find some Power Rangers porn. Don't look for it, Dylan. You may not like what you find.
I didn't say I didn't like it, no.
You fucking walk on the beach. Fucking come across giant statue of the Megazord fucking Godzilla, and you're like, oh my god.
You blew it up!
You maniac!
No, the image is actually kind of funny because it's really shittily drawn. It's these terrible 2D images of those two photoshopped over this, like, pasture with, like, a rainbow in the background.
What? What the fuck? Oh my god, I don't know why that made me laugh, but it seems so fucking cliched. It's like, alright, so you got a giant dinosaur having sex with a giant robot. Where could they be at doing this thing?
In a pasture.
Well, how about in a pasture?
With a rainbow in the background.
Conveniently timed rainbow.
There's Rita sucking Zed's dick. That's what I came here for.
Where does Zed's dick even come out? He's all like raw. He's like raw beef with metal on him. Does he even have one?
Bill, I'm so sorry. I
What?
have to send you this image.
No, I can't,
Bill,
Dylan. I can't.
You have to read the caption.
Oh, I hate you so much. Predicting my friendship with you as a child was a mistake.
You have to read the caption. Also, I'm echoing a little bit.
Oh, are you? Okay, let me put headphones on. Oh my god. That is fucking amazing.
That makes me so happy.
Rita, make my monster grow. It's so stupid. I love it. Oh my god. Wow. I can't even think of that as porn because it's so poorly drawn.
But it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
No, you think that's poorly drawn. I could just show you the one of Godzilla and the Megazord.
I'm good. I'm happy with. I'm content with my place in life to not see that. Thank you.
You want poorly drawn? Here's your poorly drawn.
Oh, guys, I wanted to make this a tribute to Power Rangers, and now I'm looking at this shit.
This is what happened when we discovered Dino Saucers together too. It's like, let's go see if there's any porn.
Dylan's first reaction to anything is, let's see if there's porn of it. It won't load. It's so hilarious because it just started off on the Megazord's head and Godzilla's tail, and it's slowly loading to reveal what's going on.
It takes forever, but like I said, it's a really shitty drawing photoshopped over a real picture of like this like mountainous like pasture-y sort of like landscape with a rainbow. I'm
surprised that Milan Jeftik didn't draw this.
It's even more hilarious because now that I'm looking at the image in full size, there's this person like taking a picture of the rainbow, and she has her back turned, not even paying attention to fucking Godzilla getting fucked up the ass.
Oh, this really ruins my childhood.
The comments like a double rainbow.
Oh look, a double rainbow. What does that fucking mean?
There was this video on fucking YouTube that got a bunch of hits where this guy sees a double rainbow and like he starts like going crazy about it, like, oh,
Dylan,
double rainbow.
Dylan, I know about the double rainbow. I was kidding.
Has it loaded all the way yet?
Nope.
Look how shitty it is.
It is really bad. Oh! Godzilla looks terrible.
Did you see his face yet?
Nope, that's still loading.
His face is the worst part.
Wait a minute.
Didn't even bother.
No.
They didn't even bother coloring in the nose.
I can't even buy that as Godzilla. It looks so bad. It looks like Dino from the Flintstones.
The Megazord don't look too hot either.
The Megazord looks better than he does, though. If I saw that, I wouldn't even be able to tell you it was Godzilla.
He's in a more flattering position, too.
Yeah, it's true.
So, Bill, why do you like In Space?
Well, I'll tell you. No, it's a great season. It's probably got the best overarching story in all of Power Rangers, with the story about Astronema and the story about her being kidnapped as a child and turned evil by being brainwashed, which is something that I always find very tragic in stories like this, and always one of the most tragic things that can happen. It's like somebody you love is taken from you, and then not mind control, but just brainwashed into thinking a certain thing. So I really like that about it. It's a good way to do a Power Rangers villain who usually aren't the most complex of people.
What I love about the story is that it's so epic in scale. It takes everything that they had done from season 1 of Mighty Morphin up to that point and brings it all to a big conclusion.
Yep.
It's the last.
They tried. You can tell they really tried with the season to make it as good as they possibly could, and it really shows.
And make it like it was going to be the end.
They were like, well, it's also clear they were like, we want kids who maybe stopped watching a couple of years ago because they thought they were getting too old to watch this season and go, you know what? I remember why I started liking this show. I think that was something they wanted to bear in mind, which is something I'll also talk about when I get into my number one.
Mm-hmm. And you've got that part, you know, you see the villains from the past seasons interacting at points, and you have the guy.
Yeah, that is awesome.
You've got that guy who I fucking forget his name, who's like the true Emperor of Evil.
Dark Spectre.
Calling Zed Emperor of Evil is kind of fucking stupid.
Well, no, here's the thing. They're all emperors of their own individual empire. And then Dark Spectre is the Grand Monarch of Evil.
See, that's how I kind of imagine the relationship between Frieza and his brother and King Cold working in DBZ. Mm-hmm. Like, Frieza gets this portion of space, Cooler gets this portion of space, and King Cold just, like, chills out in a palace somewhere.
Yeah, and that's what Dark Spectre does. He doesn't really... He owns everything. And Zed and Mondo and Divatox and Astronema all own different portions of space. And that whole dynamic is also a really interesting part of the season, where it's like you've got these different warring villain factions, with Divatox not liking Astronema, and fucking Rita not liking Divatox, and there's also this great, I think we'll probably both agree on this, the best story arc of the season, the fucking Psycho Rangers.
Yes, and then I waited to bring this up until we got to this season. One of the other things I loved in Lost Galaxy is when they brought the Psycho Rangers back.
To the 10th power, yeah.
And then the pink Psycho Ranger is the one who winds up killing, or winds up leading to the death of the pink Galaxy Ranger, proving once again that too much pink is dangerous.
Yep. One of my favorite Power Rangers teams, too, I know it's the Turbo team, but with Andros as the Red Ranger, but I think this team works better as the Space Rangers. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's just a change in scenery. They're doing a different thing than the original cast was before they got swapped out. Because the problem with Turbo was, it was like, so the original cast leaves, and then these 4 other people got shoved into their original roles. Mm-hmm. But In Space really allowed them to kind of show their stuff and become their own group of Rangers.
They got rid of the kid, didn't they?
Yeah, well, Justin stayed behind because they were like, that was a really stupid idea to make a kid one of the Power Rangers, so he stays behind.
And he grows when he turns into a Ranger. Like, what does he yell, fucking Shazam?
Yeah, exactly. Well, not that this makes it any better, but the Sentai did that too. Not in Turbo, but they did that in the Sentai that they got the White Ranger from the original Mighty Morphin.
The White Ranger was a kid.
Yeah.
You know Serpentera is actually from that Sentai too. He's not from Jew Ranger.
Well, yeah, I knew that because there's footage of the Thunder Zords fighting him, so I figured he was from that Sentai.
That's true. I never thought of that before. I was just disappointed recently when I realized, when I do get all of Jew Ranger on DVD, there's not going to be any Serpentera. He has a badass name in the Japanese too. He's called like Daijin Ryu. All the giant robots have like 3-syllable names. Like the original Megazord is Daijujin.
Daijujin, yeah. Exactly.
He's like God or something. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, he's a god, dude. They're god beasts.
I mean, it makes sense because Bandora works for Satan, so.
Satan versus God, Power Ranger style. Crazy stuff.
No actual fighting involved, just between them, actually. Just they have people to do it for them.
Right.
They give people powers and say, go ahead.
I mean, isn't that kind of what the whole idea is in the first place? Is that they don't actually fight physically themselves. It's fucking, let's use these mere mortals to fight. I mean, that's always kind of been the idea in all mythologies, is that the higher-ups don't do their own fighting. I mean, think about this. In Power Rangers specifically...
Well, it's different in sort of the Christian theology. In the Christian theology, Satan's pretty much already been defeated. He just, like, messes with people. He's just trying to drag...
he's basically just a cheap trickster. He's kind of more of an inconvenience than he is an ultimate evil.
He's just a dick. He's just kind of an asshole. He's already lost, and he's just trying to, like, drag people down with him. That's all he's doing.
Right, exactly.
There's nothing more than a fucking asshole.
Exactly. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about In Space, because I feel like we haven't really given it its fair due
And we
yet.
were busy talking about porn and shit, so.
So yeah, the Psycho Ranger saga is awesome. We get to see the Rangers. It's one of the most well thought out Power Ranger stories, in my opinion, because it's not just about the fighting; it's about the strategy of trying to deal with the Psychos. Of like, well, we can't take them head on because they're going to kick our asses, so we have to outthink them, and that's one of the best parts about it.
There's only one big problem with the season, and I know this is because of the Sentai limitations. They don't spend nearly enough time in space.
Yeah, because again, the original Sentai had nothing to do with space, except the Megazords were from space.
It's just like Power Rangers on Earth. That's what it should have been called.
And then every now and then they go out in space.
They're occasionally in space. Power
Rangers occasionally in space.
Power Rangers in space when they feel like it.
Exactly. Power Rangers in space. Power Rangers in space when the budget allows it.
I do like the fact that these guys get to be called the Space Rangers.
Space Rangers, yeah, that is pretty cool. Red Space Ranger, as Andros says in Forever Red. Andros, by the way, again, one of my favorite Red Rangers. One of the most interesting Red Rangers because he didn't grow up with he didn't start out with his team, and his team has to adjust to him as a new leader.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
I like their helmets, but do you mind the colorful squares across the chest?
I don't get what they're supposed to be. I don't really care. The whole theme of the whole design of their ship and their uniforms all seems to be devoted to we have to represent all of their colors.
Yeah.
Like their outfits, they have like those little jackets they have. It's like there's a bunch of colors on there. I think it's like we don't have to beat people over the head with the fact of the Power Rangers are colorful.
Yeah, I don't understand the purpose. It's like it would look better, I think, if they had something else on the chest instead of a white band with colorful squares going on. Like that bothers me more than the Charlie Brown thing from Lost Galaxy that people complain about.
I agree.
It's just weird. I love their helmets though.
Yeah, their helmets are cool.
Also, their belt looks like that symbol you get on your phone when you have an unopened message.
It looks like an envelope.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't they? They should have just put that on the chest.
An envelope.
Yeah, an envelope.
Power Rangers AOL. You got
Power Rangers AOL. Would have been more apt name than Power Rangers in Space.
Their morphing phrase isn't it's morphin' time or anything. It's like you got mail.
Look at a monster. Hey, astronomer, you've got mail. Go Power Rangers, go Power Rangers, go Power Rangers, go, fly.
There's a Paperclip Ranger who just keeps asking if he can assist anybody.
The Silver Ranger is the Paperclip Ranger?
Do you need my assistance? No, Paperclip Ranger.
Go home. Alright, fine. Well, it kind of makes sense with that because the Silver Ranger was barely in the show. He didn't really stick around with the other Rangers. He went off to a space colony and was like, "Yo, I gotta help out these motherfuckers. Yo, I can't be with y'all."
Did anybody ever use that paperclip? Did they actually ever ask it for advice? Whose fucking idea?
So yeah, acting's good too for the most part. There are a couple wonky moments. In terms of the villains, anyway, with the acting being a little but that's always expected. It's certainly part of the charm.
It had a more creative name for Dark Spectre.
That's kind of badass, though.
His name's Dark Spectre.
At least his name wasn't Evil McEvilson.
I mean, I guess it's better than Terrible Dactyl, but his name's still Dark Spectre.
Certainly better than Genghis Rex. I'll be honest.
They just recycled the puppet from the Turbo movie.
Yeah, but that was a lack of money, though, Dylan. And he's certainly a better villain than Malagor.
And they don't explain what is he related to the puppet from the Turbo movie? Is there any connection?
Well, they do make a joke about it.
Oh,
though.
do they?
Yeah, there's a moment where Divatox looks at him and goes, "You kind of remind me of my former fiance." So I like that little joke. Ecliptor's badass.
Yeah.
The grid-looking dude with the lasers. He's really cool. He's also fairly unique as being. He's not really like a like a major evil dude. He's just kind of like, I do what I do and deal with it.
Yeah, he's kind of like what Villamax was in the next season, except
Yeah.
Villamax is probably a little bit more evil. He just likes to go about things in an honorable way, whereas Ecliptor's more like, yo, I'm looking out for this chick.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I think Villamax is less evil than Ecliptor. Because, I mean, Villamax would save civilians at some points.
Yeah, but like,
Ecliptor was still like, listen, I don't give a fuck. I just give a fuck. Ecliptor gives a fuck about what he gives a fuck about.
yeah, well, there's this whole idea of like chivalry in Lost Galaxy that finds its way into all of the villains. You have a similar thing with, well, all of them really.
Yeah, exactly. In Space is more about this familial relationship of like, Andros lost his sister, Ecliptor kind of loses his daughter in the end.
I like Ecliptor's design.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hangover from the Sentai of like, well, we had this one character, so let's just make him the general.
Even though it kind of looks like in a video game, it looks like the unfinished like wire model of a character.
Well, I'll tell you why, because the original Sentai was all about video games.
Oh. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Why do you think the Dark Fortress has half of it that looks like a bunch of lines?
I didn't. I didn't think of it at all.
I mean, also, if you look really closely at the Silver Ranger's costume, he's got like these weird circuits in his squares.
Huh.
So, that's why.
I need to watch some of these different Sentais, at least like a little bit of them, besides just fucking Jew Ranger.
Jew Ranger is the one that struck my fancy the most, though. That and O Ranger looks really interesting, too.
Jew Ranger has a fucking awesome theme song, too.
The Jew Ranger theme song is awesome.
It's like,
O Ranger has a good theme song, too, though.
The relationship between the Jew Ranger theme song and the original Power Rangers theme song, it's a lot like the original Japanese theme song for DBZ versus the DBZ theme song. It's like, I don't like one more than the other.
Yeah, that's true. They're so different. It's like Rock the Dragon versus Cha La Head Cha La. They're two completely different songs, but they're both equally epic, but they're differently epic.
You have either a bubbly but extremely catchy like Japanese pop tune, or you have American 90s rock.
Yeah, and it's kind of good to have both, though. And both fit their respective shows.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Jew Ranger is that it's got that very, like, Jew Ranger is a lot more, like, ancestral and mystical and traditional than Power Rangers. While Power Rangers is more about, like, epic metal, like, steampunk fucking technology and shit. Jew Ranger's not really like that.
Yeah, because it was America in the 90s and everything had to be extreme!
Extreme!
They get a little bit of that in Japan, too. I mean, they made Batra. Definitely just extreme Mothra.
Extreme Mothra. Batra is Extreme Mothra.
Mothra to the extreme.
That'd be an interesting name for like instead of Ultimate Mothra, you had Extreme Mothra.
That would have been fucking awesome.
So we do like a movie series called the Extreme Mothra series.
Yeah.
Or no, what if Toho rebooted all of their Godzilla monsters and just called it the Extreme Era? Like Extreme Godzilla, Extreme Rodan.
If they made an alternate like comic universe like Marvel did with Ultimate. It's just like Extreme Toho.
Yeah, that'd be pretty badass.
They have a team-up comic called The Extreme.
The Extreme? That must have been taken. There's no way nobody's ever used that before. That must exist
I'm sure
somewhere.
it was taken. I'm sure it was taken in the 90s.
Probably.
The Extremes. Drawn by that fucking guy. What's his name? Liefeld.
Rob Liefeld. So yeah, the last thing I want to say about Power Rangers in Space is that it's got probably the best finale in history of Power Rangers. Don't you agree?
Sorry, I was just distracted. I don't think anybody's taken the Extremes.
Really?
There's a band.
Oh, yeah.
There's a band in the Muppets called the Extremes, but that doesn't really count.
I don't think they've copyrighted that. Oh, Dylan, we gotta take that. We gotta copyright the Extremes.
There's a science fiction novel called The Extremes, but
we gotta make like a team of badass like superheroes and call them the Extremes.
The Extremes. The Extremes. They're just parodies of '90s tropes.
So we got Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers.
the two of those things were from the 80s.
Yeah, but they were popular in the 90s.
You know what else?
Alright, fine. Beast Wars. Fucking TMNT.
Yeah, TMNT and Transformers have been popular since the 80s. I don't think you can really call them like a 90s trope.
Alright. Pull the panties out of your ass.
One of your heroes has to be like a fucking like grunge guitar guy.
Yeah, exactly.
The extreme. I like it. You have a Matrix guy.
Yeah. So Dylan, finale to Power Rangers in Space. Fucking awesome. Countdown to Destruction.
Big, epic. Zordon dies. Very sad.
Zordon dies, sacrifices himself for the rest of the world.
Fails in his mission to destroy all evil.
He tried, though. At least he tried. A for effort, Zordon.
He died for nothing.
So yeah, it's Power Rangers in Space is awesome.
Rita and Zed turned into like normal, good people, yet somehow managed to still have an evil child who's not human.
Yeah, where the fuck was he during all that shit?
Did they conceive him while they were in the camper of evil?
That's the theory.
But then what happened to him?
I don't know. He was. Rita's wearing some bulky clothes, dude. Maybe she was like.
They sent him off to like private school.
What if this is gonna sound weird, but what if Rita was pregnant with Thrax during the Z-Wave?
Then wouldn't the fetus have become good?
Maybe not, though, because it was incepted as evil.
The evil fetus became good.
The evil fetus.
That's kind of fucked up, though. That brings up the theory that in Power Rangers one is evil before one even leaves the womb. There is no individual choice.
But there is this weird idea. But there almost is. But that seems to be an idea in Power Rangers, though. Like that you can that some people just are born evil. Like there's no real like, it's like part of you. But also if you're gonna be born. But the other thing is that if Zed fucked Rita while he looked like Zed, the fetus would still look like that, though.
I mean, I suppose that happens in all of fiction. Some characters are just evil because they're evil, like fucking
pure evil.
Like fucking Frieza or Hitler or any of those guys.
Any of those guys. So, Dylan, anything else to say about Power Rangers in Space?
No.
Let's move on, shall we, to our number one.
My God.
Well, actually, first, honorable mentions. I have a couple. I don't know if you do.
Not really.
There's a couple seasons of Power Rangers that I didn't put on this list that I do really enjoy. Mainly just two that I wanted to mention. Power Rangers Wild Force didn't make this list because I think some of the acting is really bad. But I have a lot of nostalgia for Wild Force, and it's got some great episodes like Reinforcements from the Future, Forever Red. The Zanaku storyline was very nostalgic for me when I was a kid. That was one of my first Power Ranger story arcs. I love Wild Force, but just the acting really held it back from me putting it on this list over any other season. And then the only other one I wanted... Oh, no, two more. Ninja Storm, great characters, pretty good acting, some pretty good humor. It's one of the first seasons to try a more humorous tone, and it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. And I also liked the whole surfer motocross ninja thing. I don't know why, but that always did it for me when I was a kid.
Motocross ninjas.
Motocross ninjas.
I mean, they had surf ninjas in the 80s, so...
Yeah, so well, they did that too in Power Rangers.
See, it had to be the 90s. I mean, it had to be a motocross, because ever since the 90s, we have to be extreme!
Extreme! What was I about to say?
You were listing your honorable mention.
Oh, and one of my favorite Power Rangers in history with Cam as the Green Samurai Ranger. He's badass. Mm-hmm. With that badass shield and the Super Samurai mode. Love me some Samurai Ranger.
Super Samurai mode. It almost seems like foreshadowing.
Yeah, it does kind of, doesn't it? And then there was a Green Samurai Ranger in Power Ranger Samurai. Whoa. So,
they met. If that Samurai Ranger and the fucking Samurai Ranger from Ninja Storm...
Can we talk to the Green Samurai Ranger? Yes. And they both say yes.
Like, I'm the OG.
Yo, I'm the original Samurai Ranger, yo, bitch. He's like a fucking, gangster shit. Bitches get stitches, yo. And then the only other one I wanted to mention was, what I've seen of it, I really enjoy Power Rangers RPM. It's really well written. It's got a good storyline, great characters, shockingly well thought out for Power Rangers, and I heavily enjoy it. So Power Rangers RPM is my final honorable mention.
Given my limited exposure to the franchise, the only one that I can really give an honorable mention to is Zeo, for all of the reasons that you said before.
Mm-hmm. Zeo's great. So Dylan, let's move into our number one, shall we? I know you're gonna have a lot to say about one aspect of this in particular. So I'll let you go off.
Yes.
But our number one, collectively, is, of course, we've talked about it a lot already, but now it's time to go crazy because there's a light in the distance. Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Boom! Boom! Dylan?
Our list has finished its transfiguration.
Transfiguration. Power Rangers Dino Thunder was the shit. It is fucking awesome.
Dude. First of all, you have Tommy coming back, which was a fantastic idea. You've got
and really well executed.
It's an interesting idea to have a much smaller Ranger team this time. You know, they start out with only 3, but it actually works in their favor because they have less characters to write for, and so the characters themselves, feel a little bit more defined, I think, because they get...
My absolutely no holds back favorite Ranger team.
And this season has fantastic villains.
Oh, probably... I'm going to say the best in Power Rangers history.
Okay, so, Elsa and the other...
Yes, I like Mesogog more than Lord Zed.
Yeah, me too, What do you think of that, bitches?
Yeah, fuck you, Power Rangers fans. Fuck you.
No, but, Elsa and the other guy who's in this, what's his name? Fucking,
Zeltrax.
They're both great, but Mesogog, man.
Mesogog, holy shit. Now, hang on. I didn't forget. There's something I need to say about Power Rangers Dino Thunder that I rewatched the first 5 episodes last night, and God, does it hold up crazy well. Power Rangers Dino Thunder is, bar none, my favorite season of Power Rangers. Holds up even now. The writing, spot on. The characters, great. The acting, for the most part, great. There are actually some moments, and this is going to sound weird, where the other Rangers kind of overact Tommy a little bit, where it's like he seems to kind of not be sure whether or not to step up to what they're doing or kind of stay back and go, well, I've been on Power Rangers longer, so I'm going to do what I know.
Yeah, he is sort of acting in, like, the old school type of Ranger way, isn't he?
But I guess, you know what, though? I guess that makes sense, though. That kind of works. That he's kind of the more old guard, stoic, takes everything seriously kind of Ranger.
When Carr mentioned this in his History of Power Rangers episode, it's like, he doesn't understand these kids that, like, don't want to train, and, like...
They're like, he's like, so you guys want to save the world? Fuck no.
They don't, like, do any, like, community service. He's like...
Yeah.
What happened to these kids?
Kids these days, huh? But fucking... Oh, but here's the thing. Here's the really interesting thing about the first episode. So... The whole thing is that why I think the writing is so much better in Dino Thunder than it is in other seasons is that I think they were like, well, if we're going to bring back Tommy, it would be really dumb of us to not cater to older fans who might come back and watch because we have Tommy.
Right.
So why don't we make this season a little bit more well-written and a little bit more well-rounded so that way people who are older can enjoy it just like kids.
Hey guys, I know we've been doing okay these past few seasons. What if we try?
I think Ninja Storm tried a little bit, but I'm just saying that here's why. There's much more of a focus on dialogue in Dino Thunder than there are in other seasons. Mainly, there are some really witty jokes in Dino Thunder. I love the line in the first episode where Connor is talking to Principal Randall, and he goes, Principal Randall, I've heard such great things about you, and she just goes, vicious rumors, I can't assure you. I love that line.
I love that part, yeah.
It's great.
That's a line that always stuck out to me.
I love that line, because she doesn't, the only problem with it is, like, she turns out to be Elsa in disguise, and she ain't making no secrets about that whatsoever.
Yeah, Tommy's like, I should have seen that coming, and I'm like, yeah, no shit.
No fucking shit. She made it pretty fucking obvious.
It's worse than Clark Kent.
Yeah, all she had to do was stab you with a knife, and that would have been it. That would have been like the full telltale sign.
The cool thing about Elsa though is she's not a monster. She doesn't have any like armor or shit. She's just like a bitch who can fight in like leather.
Yeah, but she can fight. She can stick up for herself. She's a great villain. Zeltrax is okay. He's a little bit generic.
The problem with Zeltrax, after they make the reveal about who Zeltrax is, they don't really do anything with it because you don't really get a good sense of what his motivations are.
You know what I wish he was?
What do you wish he was?
I wish he was a past ranger.
Yeah, we talked about this. What if a ranger from the past like came back and was evil? Like, what if he was the fucking kid from Turbo?
Well, I wasn't so much thinking that, but like, who did Tommy screw over? I was thinking maybe like I don't know, like Jason or something. What if Jason became a villain?
My God, Zeltrax is Jason. It would have to turn out that he was being mind controlled, but
I mean, Jason never came back after Forever Red, so they really could have done whatever they wanted with him.
Yeah.
But I wish it was somebody who was actually from the past of Power Rangers rather than some guy who we never heard of and really has no reason to hate Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, I had to cook up this whole like story of what Tommy had been doing since he left the Rangers. You know, all of a sudden he's a brilliant scientist.
Which doesn't really make any fucking sense based on who Tommy was.
He wasn't really the sciencey type.
He was more of like, I'm really attractive to the ladies, and I can kick things really well. I'm not really into all that, like, you know, dinosaur shit. I mean, the presumption seems to be he used to control a dragon, and now he likes dinosaurs.
I mean, if Billy had been the mentor this season, then it would have made sense for him to have gone off and become a scientist.
Well, it's not the problem of Tommy being the mentor. The problem is of what Tommy's occupation is. It's like, why did he do that?
That's what I'm saying. If Billy was the mentor, then it would make sense for him to be a scientist. But as is, it's like...
Billy's off on Aquatar being all fucking
True.
Young and shit.
Well, see, that would have been even better. He could have come back as a scientist with alien technology.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, some that didn't get left on Terra Venture.
But yeah, hang on. Okay. Here's another cool thing I noticed, and it's really, really subtle. And you might not even remember this. I don't know how long it's been since you've watched Dino Thunder, but there's a little attempt in the first episode so you've got the old fans watching, who know Tommy and know the history of Power Rangers, but then you've got the kids watching who aren't going to know who Tommy is. There is a moment where they try and make you think that Tommy is Mesogog.
How so?
It happens before...
Tommy had been Mesogog.
Well, that's my point. Here's what I mean. I mean, the only problem with that is that, that Tommy was the villain, not necessarily that he was Mesogog. Though that would have been interesting, because obviously that's not possible because, well, we see Mesogog interact with Tommy in the first scene.
Well, I mean, if that hadn't been the case.
Yeah. Well, because there's an idea of, like, well, maybe Tommy's the villain. Because basically the idea is Tommy ain't on the level. And that's true. But there's a little hint that he might be a villain. But it got me thinking. Because they're like, we're trying... Because they're trying to... For the first half of the season, they're trying to create a mystique about who Mesogog is.
Yeah.
And we find out later on, of course, that it's Anton Mercer, Tommy's old boss. And
his fellow scientist.
But yeah, but less questionable scientist.
Who was trying to fuse dinosaur DNA with technology. Okay.
Well, no. That's what Tommy was trying to do. Anton was like, let's turn dinosaurs into people. So back to Dino Thunder. Wouldn't it have been interesting if Tommy was Mesogog and had to fight himself?
I mean, Tommy does fight himself at one point. but yeah.
Okay, but let's even amend that. What if in Tommy's head, the past Rangers had to fight Mesogog? Like you had the Zeo Ranger 5, the White Ranger, the Green Ranger, maybe the Red Turbo Ranger fighting Mesogog in Tommy's head, and you've got this like major identity crisis.
Mesogog was like, what if after Tommy had been freed of the time of the mind control back in Mighty Morphin, what if a little bit of that like evil had been left inside of his mind and it festered over the years and became Mesogog?
That would have been interesting. That would have been really interesting. I don't know why it would have materialized as that, but it would have been cool.
Because dinosaurs.
Because, dragons are dinosaurs.
Because Mazagog has a dinosaur for a head, and Tommy's helmet kind of looked like a dinosaur for a head. So
I guess the Dragon Zord kind of looks like Mazagog in a little bit of a way.
I mean, listen, it's not really a dragon.
It's more of Mechagodzilla.
It's pretty much just Mechagodzilla.
But that's badass. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this when we talked about Mighty Morphin, but fucking the Dragon Zord, dude.
Yeah, all of the original Zords.
Yeah, they're pretty badass.
Really fucking cool.
Not so much. I wasn't so much a fan of the Ninja Zords.
Yeah, they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, the Ninja Zords can blow me, but the fucking Dragon Zord, good shit. Even the White Tiger Zord, pretty badass. Especially when they fought. Remember that episode where the White Ranger fought the Green Ranger?
No, that happened.
Yeah, it was badass. And the fucking White Tiger Zord had to fight the Dragon Zord.
That does sound badass.
It's not great, but the fights are cool. The problem is they're like, well, we can't just have them fight,
that pretty much sums up Mighty Morphin. It's not great, but the fights are cool.
Yeah. Well, it's like all you need is the battle between the two different Tommies and their powers. You don't need the Rangers going back in time and fighting rats.
Yeah.
You also don't have to make it a 3-parter either. What the fuck?
But I like that episode of Dino Thunder where he's in the coma and he has to fight his past selves.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes. It's great.
Power Rangers: The Battle of the Five Tommies.
Yeah, well, it's technically only 4.
Should have been 5.
Because they're like, because we're not going to include Turbo because fuck that shit.
Do we really need 2 Red Rangers in this episode? And I'm thinking, well, if you want to be accurate, yeah.
Well, I think what they should have done is just had them tag team Tommy.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Have the 2 Red Rangers fight him.
That would have been.
I guess the whole thing is like once Tommy passed the turbo powers on to TJ, he lost his identity as the Red Turbo Ranger. Mm-hmm. But then that's weird though because it's like, well, technically TJ had that too because he's the Blue Space Ranger.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I guess the finality of that was Tommy fighting along TJ as the Red Turbo Ranger in Forever Red.
One thing that they could have written better in Dino Thunder, to get back to Dino Thunder, is what they wind up doing with the White Ranger.
Although, before we get into the negative, the White Ranger saga is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's an interesting callback and parallel to what happened with Tommy.
But better told, because it's like, I like that relationship better where Trent slowly becomes evil, where he gets the gem, it creates an alternate personality, and then he slowly turns evil. It's not immediately, bam, I will destroy you, Power Rangers. It's, hey, I woke up in my bed, sweaty, and this weird gem is on my wrist. And I know this isn't a sexual thing.
It's like
something's up.
It's like a slow transformation. Like you're talking about how you're a fan of transformations. It's very werewolf-esque.
Very Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde-esque. And the other thing is that Trent's reasoning for becoming evil is actually pretty good despite the alterations to his mind. Mm-hmm. Because his dad is Mesogog.
Right.
Or, well, kind of. Anton makes it very clear that Mesogog and him are really not the same person.
And is he even aware of what Mesogog has done when he snaps out of it? Like, does he remember the chain of events that occurred?
They never make that clear. I think the idea is that he has I think he does, but he can't do anything to stop it. My question is how Mesogog's clothes change along with the rest of him when he becomes Mesogog.
Morphing grid.
I guess. Well, he doesn't have access to the morphing grid.
Everyone has access to the morphing grid.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, the White Ranger costume's great too.
Yeah.
For some reason, 6th Rangers always have to have a shield, but I'm not complaining.
Where it goes downhill is after we have the clone of the White Ranger.
That was stupid, and I have no idea why they did it. I presume it was because of the Sentai footage.
Well, and it would have been a cool idea if they had done anything with it, but he just becomes another stooge.
Yeah. He's also really, really boring. Because at least when the White Ranger had Trent's when Trent was the evil White Ranger, he had a fucking personality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was kind of cocky. And he had Trent's actor, too, so that's the other reason, is that I think that guy's a really good actor, too, in terms of what he's given.
He kicked the shit out of the Rangers.
Yeah, he beat the shit out of him. I love that scene where he takes on Connor one-on-one.
Yeah. It's just, they could have done so much with that evil clone idea, and they really didn't. Although I like the fight between the 2 White Rangers.
It's alright. I mean, it's like, well, how much... It's kind of the problem I had when I wrote Godzilla Odyssey.
The only way you can tell the difference between them is that one of them went into a super mode. Wouldn't it have been better? And I know they were limited by the Sentai footage, but let's say in a perfect world where they could do whatever the fuck they wanted, wouldn't it be better if they had done something similar to what Mesogog does at the end of the series and like had the evil White Ranger like not just go into a super mode, but like go into some sort of like monster form?
Well, there's a monster in it called...
Because Psycho Pink did that back in Lost Galaxy.
Yep. Well, what was that monster called? There was a monster in Dino Thunder that was based on the White Ranger's powers. It was a white, like, dinosaur monster. I forget what it was called. It was in the episode where Tommy was in his head fighting all the other past Rangers.
Oh, what was that thing called?
I forget. It was like the White Dragon thing or whatever.
The White Dragon thing.
White Dragon thing. That's what I call my penis.
Go, White Dragon thing.
But what was I saying? I forget. But basically my point is that he could have turned into that in order to fight Trent.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
But really, here's where I come down to on Power Rangers in terms of where the seasons rank and why I like the seasons I like. Here's what I need. I need actors who are believable in their roles.
Mm-hmm. I
need a good mix of the comedy with the action. Mm-hmm. Needs good action, and you need to balance telling your own story also with paying service to the past seasons.
Well, with the exception of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I think, and I mean. Well, no, that's not true. There are examples of it found in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but it doesn't really describe the whole season. But basically what I'm trying to say is everything on our list has an element of just, more so than other seasons, having good storytelling going on.
Yeah, definitely.
You were talking about Zeo and all that interesting stuff going on in that between Tommy and Jason. I was talking about,
Well, I should point out that for any bigger Power Rangers fans than I, they didn't do anything with it. It was just a kind... Or not, they didn't do much with it. They just kind of touched it in there every now and then.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting idea anyway. That was still early Power Rangers. What do you expect?
Yeah, it's true.
I
mean, they may introduce interesting ideas, but they don't ever do anything with them, for the most part.
I was talking about how in Lost Galaxy, they had all that dramatic stuff going on. Child death, man.
Child
death. Talked about all the interesting things in SPD regarding the premise, and the more we talked about that, the more I realized how genius that show really is.
Yeah, SPD's great. I feel like we didn't give that enough of its due because we kept getting sidetracked. But SPD is a fucking great season.
In Space is the one that I feel like we didn't really talk enough about.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Psycho Ranger stuff is probably the best Power Ranger story arc ever.
And all that, the ending, man, the ending. But yeah, what all these seasons that we've listed has in common is they're the best stories of.
Yeah, and I think that and here's the thing. These are all the seasons that I have a lot of nostalgia for, but also hold up the best in terms of going back and rewatching them. Is ultimately where I come down on this. I have a lot of Dino Thunder. I have the most Dino Thunder and SPD are the ones I have the most nostalgia for, and they also again hold up crazy well. Those in particular, that's why they're in my top 3. In Space as well, I have quite a bit of nostalgia for that, but not. I didn't watch it when it was on, obviously, so I caught it later on. But that has a really good story, so that's why it made the list in that way. And Zeo and Mighty Morphin, again, just really fun and classic and over the top. So I think that's where we come down to. It is the ones that hold up the best and also are the most nostalgic and kind of balance all the glory of Power Rangers, the cheesy glory, the cheesy gloriness of the morphing sequence, the epic rocket theme song, the fucking colored smoke and the explosions, but also telling some decent stories on a kid show. So I think that's a good way to come down on Power Rangers, Dylan. But Dylan, let me ask you this quick, and we won't talk too much about this because we're really deep. We're almost 3 hours in. So I think it's time to wrap this up. But I think there is a way to make Power... I mean, we saw it with Dino Thunder. There is a way to make Power Rangers work for both kids and adults. And I think that...
when we found out that they were making the movie, one thing that I said was, I think if you did it in the style of, like, the Avengers...
Yes, big time. Whedon would do wonders with a Power Rangers movie.
Do a Power Rangers movie in the Avengers or even the Guardians of the Galaxy sort of tone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then, once the movie comes out, do a TV show.
Based off the movie.
Turn it into a TV show to continue the continuity going.
With all your own footage.
Well, the other thing is that you don't have to adapt the Sentai in the order in which they came out. If you want to change the powers, just do the seasons you want to do. So if you want to give the Mighty Morphin Rangers and just shoot them into space and give them the space powers, just do it.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. If you want to instead of straight up adapting, if you want to take inspiration from the different Sentais and like take like elements that you like from different ones, what if they were like if you were doing your own footage, you could even go back to like Sentais that were made before Jew Ranger. I'm sure there's so much gold in there that like good ideas that you could like incorporate.
Yep. Well, my whole thing is, if they ever redo the Green Ranger saga, when they do, and I imagine they will, I will be really surprised if either the first or second movie in the new series is not the Green Ranger saga.
I'm pretty sure it would probably be the sequel. The first movie would be your introduction to the Rangers and like Lord Zed and everything, and then the second movie would be like, hey, let's make an evil Ranger.
Yeah, I imagine so. That's the thought I had in my head as well.
And then the third movie would be some sort of like epic plot finale.
Well, I think that should be like shoot the Rangers up into space.
Here's what you do: you have the Green Ranger in the second movie, and have him like have his like death or whatever, and then
that's they need to stick closer to the Sentai if they redo the Green Ranger saga. No mind control bullshit. I mean, you can do a little bit of that, but like give the dude some characterization.
But then you could bring him back in the third movie and give him the white powers.
Or because I think I like the space story. So what if it's like they get shot up into space, and they just give them the Silver Ranger powers?
I mean, they could do any of that. They can do whatever they want as Power Rangers. I'm not going to care, as long as they don't, adapt Operation Overdrive.
Yeah, just don't give me Overdrive, and then Overdrive and Turbo. Let's skip those 2 seasons. Otherwise, we're good.
Have you seen the images of what the newest Sentai looks like?
The train one?
No, there's a new one coming out. Well, for a while, the dinosaur one that they're about to adapt was the newest one, but there's a new ninja one coming out. And the cost...
Well, no, hang on. The dinosaur one's actually pretty old.
Oh, is it really? The one that they're about to adapt?
Yeah, because there's a season in between Dino Charge and the current season.
Oh. Well, anyway, the next one coming up, they haven't even started it yet. It's upcoming. But it's another ninja one. And the costumes look fucking badass. They're very different. I wonder if I can find them and show them to you, because...
I really hope the one I'm looking at right now isn't it, because it does not look badass.
Well, let's just send me a...
Oh, wait a minute.
Send me a link.
Is it called Sentai Akaba Ranger? Aba Ranger?
No, Aba Ranger is the one that Dino Thunder is based off of.
I think I found it.
No, this isn't it. Oh, I've seen that before. That's actually a parody.
Oh. Well then. What do you think of the Train series? Is that? I think that's kind of dopey.
Please don't adapt.
You don't like that season?
Can we just skip that one? Please.
I don't think Trains
For the love of
is
God.
a bad. I don't think doing the trains is a bad idea inherently. The costumes are just fucking awful.
All right.
So you can do train Power Rangers, but just give them a better fucking costume.
All right. The old fucking like ninja Sentai, the one that they adapted in Mighty Morphin, was called Kaku Ranger. I need to find...
Whoa, is that it? No, that's Kamen Rider.
That's Kamen Rider.
That's not Super Sentai.
Not what I'm looking for.
Whoa, the new Kamen Rider looks badass.
Oh, it's called Shuriken Sentai Ninninger.
That's a tricky last word.
I can't pronounce Japanese.
Hang on, what is it?
Hold on. Oh.
Just send me a link.
What's interesting about it is that there's a White Ranger, but it's not the 6th Ranger. It's one of the 5.
They did that in Wild Force, too.
Did they?
Yeah, the Pink Ranger. There was no Pink Ranger. It was just the White Ranger.
These costumes are they're wildly different, and I like them.
Send me that shit, yo.
They make me happy. We need to adapt it after Dino Charge, and maybe I'll watch it.
I just like the way it feels.
I just like the way it feels.
By the way, do yourself a favor, listen to the Dino Charge theme song. It's fucking badass.
I was morphing since long before anybody paid me to morph. I just like the way...
And it took a long time for people to get paid to morph.
I just like the way it feels.
Oh, those are pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, there is a Pink Ranger. Oh, so I guess there's no... Oh, they didn't do a Green or Black Ranger.
Maybe those will be the 6th and 7th Rangers.
Well, no, clearly the Yellow Ranger is a dude, and the other two are girls.
Yeah. So I'm saying maybe they'll do a Green or a Black as like a 6th Ranger at some point during the season.
Yeah, I guess so. That's weird though. Usually they don't do like a pink and That's weird though that they did because usually if the dude's a girl, I mean if the dude is it's fucking late. You gotta cut me a price.
If dude looks like a lady.
I'm trying to get like 14 thoughts out at once. If there's...
It reminds me of how...
So, okay, wait, hang on. Hang on. So you know how in fucking Mystic Force they had a Yellow Ranger who was a guy, but they had a Blue Ranger who was a girl?
Yeah, I was all like, what the fuck is this shit?
There was still a Green Ranger.
Wasn't there?
Usually, if the Yellow Ranger's a dude...
Wasn't the Blue Ranger in Ninja Storm a girl?
Yes, but that's different, though, because there's only 3 Rangers. I'm saying if there's a classic 5-Ranger team... Mm-hmm. And they have a Yellow Ranger who's a dude. Usually it's a Blue and Pink Ranger.
As girls?
And there's a normal... There's always been a Green or a Black Ranger.
There's always red.
There's always red, there's always green or black, and there's always blue.
Because if there was...
So this is the first season without that tradition.
Of course, I don't know if it's always been that way in Sentai, though, and this is the latest Sentai, so...
I think there's always been that in Sentai.
I don't know. Some of the early, very, like the first Sentais, like the first couple, they're very experimental, so I don't really know.
And they weren't even called Super Sentai.
I love those sashes.
Pretty
they're
cool.
Fucking badass.
Well, Dylan, we have gotten 3 hours of podcast out of this. I think it's about time that we wrapped up this Morphenominal DFOS special.
That whole little spiel where you were like, usually when the dude's a girl or whatever. of in the original Jew Ranger, fucking the Yellow Ranger is a guy. In fact, his name is Boy.
Boy. Yep. Dylan, do you have anything to announce?
Do I have anything to announce?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I'm thinking.
Think faster.
Never. Oh yeah. I'm in an upcoming episode of Geeky Gentlemen.
Good friends of the show over there, Ian, Milan, and Steve.
That show that you used to do. I didn't get to meet Steve; he wasn't there, but I was in the upcoming episode, so go watch that.
What is the subject?
We were talking about the Nostalgia Critic.
Okay.
We talked about several of his reviews from both the beginning, middle, and the more recent parts of his career. Talked about his progression, or at least me and Ian talked about that. Milan talked about other things.
Did you talk about fucking the Nostalgia Critic?
Actually, no.
Okay, I'm shocked. I can't process that.
But yeah, so that's coming up. I'll be doing more episodes of Kaiju Spotlight at some point coming up.
Woo!
With a brand spanking new title card with line art by our good friend Jacob Baker, the Kaiju Maker.
Oh, lion art. I thought you said lion art. I was like, there are no lions on... I've seen the title card. There's no lions on it except for King Caesar.
I changed it, Bill.
Oh, there's more lions on it? You put the lions from Voltron on it?
I added more lions. I just like the way they feel.
Dylan, let's wrap up this monkey show. So, Dylan, that's going to do it for our Morphenominal special, The Demons from Outer Space. Until next time, I'm Bill Worcester, a.k.a. Zazubaar.
You should either call this DFOS the Morphenominal special or a very Morphenominal episode.
No, I'm going to call it Mighty Morphin Demons from Outer Space.
That's so lame.
How is that lame? How? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, but it's the Morphenominal DFOS special is so cool compared to Mighty Morphin Demons from Outer Space.
No, both names are lame. We need to come up with something better.
No, I think Mighty Morphin DFOS.
Yeah, what are we morphing into? A jaguar with a monkey head?
Yeah. King Kong is morphing in the Jet Jaguar as our title
Can you
card
imagine us
suggests.
morphing, Bill? We're fat. Fat people should not wear morph suits. I've seen it done, and it's just really terrifying.
Fuck you, Dylan. They fucking change the body types constantly. It's like, well, look at... Oh, one's able to change gender, but you can't squeeze a little bit of extra fat into a fucking costume?
None of the Power Rangers have ever had jelly rolls, that's all I'm saying.
We've had some chunky Power Rangers.
I guess in the...
They're not coming to mind at the moment, but we've had some chunky Power Rangers.
I mean, I guess in the logic of the show, if a fat person morphed, they would become skinnier, much how the child grew.
We had a child become an adult. Fuck you, I can be a Power Ranger, Dylan. My dreams are not dead.
No, because if you tried to, like, make this into, like, a parody, and, like, you filmed yourself in a morph suit, I got news for you.
No, I get a stunt double.
A stunt double.
I wouldn't have to. Dylan, do you know how rarely in Power Rangers the actors are actually wearing the costumes?
Yeah, very rarely. Usually it's a Japanese person.
Yeah, well, I watched the behind the scenes of the Super Megaforce finale, and it's like everybody except for the main actors were fucking Japanese, and none of them spoke English. There's a moment where Jason David Frank was shooting, and he goes up to the guy who's wearing the Black Dino Thunder costume to kind of like do a little joke. And he goes up to the guy, he's like, oh yeah, you can see the striking family resemblance, and clearly the guy has no idea what he's talking about. It's so fucking funny. Anyway,
how does a person in the U.S. follow a Sentai as it's coming out? Because I might have to follow this new ninja thing. That looks pretty badass.
The magic of the internet, Dylan. I would talk to David. Oh, Dylan, we should probably announce this now, because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the information. When are you going away?
It will be the last weekend of January.
Oh, okay, so that's going to be after school starts. So wait a minute. When do you leave and when do you come back?
I leave Thursday afternoon, and I come back Sunday afternoon.
Alright, so we might not miss the show.
We could...
If we do it earlier in the week, it depends.
We've done that before, recorded earlier in the week. I could always record, like, on a Tuesday or maybe even a Wednesday. I mean, it's no big deal.
Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. We're probably not going to... There's probably going to be no change for the listeners. But if we're unable to get one in the bag, I'm not going to cancel the show. I'm going to get a guest. But we'll see what happens. Probably not. We'll probably just get one of I'll probably just get one in the bag with you before you go, and we'll
get fucking Johnny Young Bosch.
Yeah, I'll get Johnny Young Bosch, and we'll fucking you know the actor's name, but you don't know the fucking character's name.
That's true. Well, you know,
so I'll get Johnny Young Bosch.
He's a badass though. He's got like a band and shit now.
Yeah. Well, Jason David Frank's a fucking UFC fighter.
Is that what he's doing with his life?
Well, he did. I don't know if he still does that now.
See, I had to stretch my limited knowledge of Power Rangers last night on Geeky Gentleman, and I was like, Jason David Frank, he's always got something going on. I don't know what it is.
You talking about Power? Oh, yeah, you did talk about Power Rangers. You mentioned it earlier.
That's weird. Power Rangers have been showing up a lot in my life recently.
I don't know. That's weird. Maybe it's coming back, Dylan. It's coming back. So until next time, I'm Bill Worcester, aka
I'm Super EM64.
And may the power protect you. Because them Germans, they be fucked up.
So now the Power Rangers are protecting us from... Dude! Power Rangers who fight Nazis!